What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to LTMB Live. Let the madness begin. It's been a minute. It's been a minute, man. We were gone for all last week, so feels like it's been a few weeks, actually.
Technically, you could say it's been a week and a half, considering our last show was
That Friday.
I
was going to say Thursday.
I was going to say Thursday,
Friday,
but
yeah.
we did that show after the debates.
Right, that second night of debate.
So we kind of been gone for about a week and a half.
Yeah, man, it feels
officially.
Like it. It definitely
and
feels
it does
like
feel like we've been gone a long time, so I might need you to hype me up, man. For real, man. It might take me a while to get back into it, but man, you might do like punch me or something on my shoulder, you know what I'm saying? Get me hyped up, man. Because your boy is out of it, bro.
Yeah, man, I can. Oh, shoot, hold up. There's some difficulties with the. See, I forgot that button right there. See, the autofocus. There we go. All right, we in focus now. All right, there we go. I knew there was going to be at least one hiccup or two because it feels like we're on new software because it's been so long. But we appreciate everybody being here with us. We're broadcasting on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope Live. If you haven't already hit that button to subscribe to the channel, please do so. And please hit the like button as well. I see someone saying, let's see, Discord fan chat blew up. That's what Moose Guy was saying. I guess in the days we weren't
there.
That's what's up.
It blew up. I mean, it might be a tactic or an attempt to get us involved more. But I wouldn't doubt it, I guess, when the show's away.
Blue is Mike's color.
Yo, I got a copyright on blue, dog? I got a copyright on blue?
Really?
Matter of fact, I don't...
Or is she saying she doesn't know who we are yet?
Oh, you know what? That sounds like she's calling you Mike. Because she's saying blue is Mike's color. She's saying it looks good on you.
Yeah.
And see, you did the autofocus, right?
Yeah.
So they could see us better.
Right.
But apparently it didn't work.
Yeah, I don't think it worked. Yeah, I don't think it worked. To a long time.
This is more than the third or fourth time that Moose Guy's been out of pocket in the chat section.
Yeah, at least.
Don't make us use that wrench on you. You know what I'm saying? We'll use that wrench.
But yeah, we're glad to be back. A lot of things been going on. A lot of things that we haven't had a chance to discuss.
Probably won't.
Yeah.
There's too much stuff going on.
Yeah, it's just too much. There's a lot of stuff. We're gonna get to some of these things. But let's just start. So, of course, a lot of our commentary in the previous broadcasts were about the 2020 election season. And we finally did make it to our first Democratic presidential debate. And we went into great depth about those two nights. So since that period, there has been one casualty.
Casualty.
Yeah.
You say like he got got murdered or something. Like, damn. He murdered himself.
He did murder himself, yeah. But yeah, there's been one exit from the race, and that is California Congressman Eric Swalwell.
I really didn't see that coming.
Yeah, it was very much of a surprise to me, noting how well he was doing, particularly in the debates. How well he showed up. Yeah, it was a big surprise.
He was one of the last to enter the race, wasn't he? He was one of the last. He wasn't the last, but he was one of the last to enter the race.
He's one of the last, yeah.
And he's the first to officially bow out.
Bow out, yeah.
So what does that tell you? Because what is he going to do now that he's dropped out?
Well, he's running for re-election. Running for re-election in his his current seat. He represents the 15th district in California, so he's running for re-election officially.
Interesting. So this little short presidential run he had I'm expected to believe that was completely legit. Like that wasn't planned.
He said it was real. And look, even if you go back to his last re-election back in last year, November.
He's going to keep his options open. Is that
yeah, but I'm just saying the numbers that he put up. He won easily. So
you don't think he needed the boost?
I don't think so. I really don't think so.
True. It doesn't really work like that. It doesn't really work in that direction, though. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Beto O'Rourke. He got more attention because of the race in Texas.
Right.
And I guess that gave him the inclination that he could run for president. It usually doesn't work the other way around. It usually doesn't work like, you run for president and your name gets out there and then it kind of translates locally. I don't think it usually works like that anyway.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be interesting to I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea, but that's his plans now. So we do believe that was the correct move. He probably shouldn't have ran to begin with. I don't think he needed that extra, I guess, clout or anything like that.
The extra boost. He didn't need the added value because, like you said, he did well. So, but it still doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, but whatever. It's a good thing he's out, though.
No. It's a smart move for him.
Oh, yeah.
And it's good for, I guess, for the rest of the, primary season. We have one less person.
True. We need to, kind of
pare down.
Yeah, we do.
They need to be pared down.
They do. The number of candidates do need to decrease, no doubt.
He probably wasn't going to qualify for the second round of debates.
Maybe he would have.
I think he was still polling.
Yeah,
I think he was still polling at 1% in 3 different polls. But then the amount of individual donors would have to double, right?
Well, you talking about the second round of debate?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you meant like the second debate.
Oh, no.
Okay, yeah, he would have been there for the second debate.
Yeah.
But yeah, the third and fourth debates, he probably would not have been there. But anyway, the only negative to this is that he was our source of entertainment.
Quite a few times.
He was our source of entertainment.
Quite a few times.
I don't think anybody else that's running made us laugh as much.
He
I don't think so.
He tried hard not to be himself. You notice that?
Oh yeah.
Because he's a very square kind of guy.
He is.
He's a very square kind of guy. He has like a Leave It to Beaver part in his hair that he definitely needs to comb out. But he tried to come off like as relatable more than he, had the ability to. Like he tried to be.
He's not like somebody you would be like, oh, that's a cool dude.
That's
like
a cool
somebody
dude.
I would sit down and just chat with, drink a beer with, or something like that.
I can see myself playing, 2K20 with him. No.
He's a very dry personality.
And it's like he reminds me of Al Gore, but Al Gore trying to be cool.
Yeah, it's not good.
Al Gore didn't try.
It doesn't play well.
Al Gore didn't. He knew he was dry.
Yes.
So yeah, it didn't play well. So I definitely think it was a smart decision. He didn't have a shot.
But his place in the Democratic field was not left empty for very long. The next day after Swalwell's exit, there's another candidate to emerge, and that is billionaire Tom Steyer. And so in a video that he posted on multiple social media platforms, he made his case for why he should be the next president. And this is somebody that I believe it was earlier this year in January, he said that he was not going to run because there was some, some speculation or people speculating that he would. I guess there was a lot of questions, and he came out and said that no, he wasn't going to do it, but something urged him to get involved at this point. So we're going to play a clip of the video, his first ad right here.
I think people believe that the corporations have bought the democracy, that the politicians don't care about or respect them, don't put them first, are not working for them, but are actually working for the people who have rigged the system. Really what we're doing is trying to make democracy work by pushing power down to the people. We signed the Giving Pledge, which is a promise to give away half of your wealth while you're alive to good causes. We have a society that's very unequal, and it's really important for people to understand that this society is connected. If this is a banana republic with a few very, very rich people and everybody else living in misery, that's a failure. The lawyers have basically gotten the Supreme Court to say that corporations are people, and therefore they have all the rights in the Constitution given to people. Now, obviously, corporations don't have hearts or souls or futures. They don't have children. They have a short time frame, and they really care about just making money. If you give them the unlimited ability to participate in politics, it will skew everything because they only care about profits. You look at climate change. That is people who are saying, we'd rather make money than save the world. That's an amazing statement, and it's happening today. And there are politicians supporting that. I mean, I think 82,000 people died last year of drug overdoses. If you think about the drug companies, the banks, screwing people on their mortgages, it's thousands of people doing what they're paid to do. Almost every single major intractable problem, at the back of it, you see a big money interest for whom stopping progress, stopping justice is really important to their bottom line.
I don't know. So, what do you think of that, man? Was the inspirational music playing in the background enough for you to either applaud or kind of stand up in overwhelming, I don't know, approval of him as a candidate?
Well, okay, I guess you can discuss that in different ways. First, just on the surface, the ad was good. The ad I thought was really good. I think it was done well as an ad can be. The music didn't really appeal to me.
Didn't get you? The music didn't get you?
It didn't get me right here. But still, look, his words ring true. It's just that when you hear those words, you definitely want to feel like the people that are saying those words are as authentic as those words come across. So it's nothing that we haven't said and many others have said too. Corporations control the political process, and thus we can't really get anything done. We can't get anything about climate change. We can't get anything done about healthcare or anything. Gun reform. I mean, just anything. Our military industrial complex. We can't do anything because the money in politics, right? So what he's saying is incredibly true. His involvement now in the presidential race is coming really late. It's coming really late in the process. He is, he takes the place of Eric Swalwell. Now he's the 24th candidate, maybe 23rd, 24th, whatever. He's not going to qualify for this next debate coming up at the end of July because it's just he doesn't have enough time to do so. It's possible that in the second round of debates he does qualify. It's possible. He's going to throw a lot of money at this thing. And I think he already has thrown about $1 million worth of ads to his candidacy.
So he's using the privilege he has to get access to either debates or just race in general. So he's throwing money in.
It's his money.
But I guess it's for
he's a billionaire.
But I guess it's for a good cause.
Yeah. And look, okay, so you have to look at where he comes from too, right? So he's a former, I believe, hedge fund manager. Now he's not anymore. He started Next Gen America in 2013. Next Gen America is an environmental advocacy organization, and is focused on supporting candidates and policies that are doing something about climate change. So that's a good cause. It's definitely a good cause. It's also a political action committee as well. So they do, I guess, they use the money, they gather money, and they use that to support candidates and causes. And they have been doing that for years. When you talk about money in politics, I don't think anybody is against the simple act of lobbying, because when we talk here on this show, it's kind of like lobbying. The simple act of it, it's what comes with it. It's the effort. Well, actually, it's not the effort. It's the money behind.
Yeah, it's the money behind the lobbying. You can't have politics without having some lobbying going on. It's just the intent and the motive behind the lobbying. Right. And the powerful people behind the lobbying. That's the point. Right. Because there's organizations that lobby for good things as well.
And so I wouldn't consider what Next Gen America is doing is lobbying for a nefarious purpose or anything like that. They've been involved in the fight to do something about climate change for a while, and like I said, I appreciate that effort.
So are you saying he at some point during his career and during his money making or his personal wealth creation, he had some kind of come to Jesus moment?
It must be, because hedge fund manager, well, typically when you hear hedge fund manager, you don't I guess you don't go to like a noble individual.
I was about to say that's not something you. I guess you don't see somebody who would consider themselves. We would consider humble.
No. Somebody that's like trying to look out for
The small guy.
the small people,
Yeah,
and like trying to do what's best for them, like trying to remove that boot from people's necks and advocate for the. I don't think those go together. So maybe he did have one of those moments. In the video, he talked about that the Giving Pledge, and
Half.
that's with Bill Gates, and that's like he said, donating half of their wealth while they're alive to charitable causes. It's more than a lot of people do.
It's more than a lot of people do.
A lot of wealthy people do.
True that, but I still think it plays into this whole like rich people can save us kind of philanthropy.
True.
I wish we would kind of cut into those situations by dealing with like the economic system that creates the need for philanthropy like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So.
But look, like I said, it seems as though he wants to. Look, I don't know a ton about his background. I don't know a ton about even his candidacy right now because I'm not sure he has a website up right now. I think he's formulating his staff. So I don't know. It seems as though his major cause is climate change, which if that is the case, I mean that's certainly a good major cause to have. It's just that I don't know how he would be on other issues. What about criminal justice reform? What about the military? What about health insurance? What about poverty? And I just don't know how he views.
So
a lot of
what you're saying, he's
situations.
coming in with like a good overall message, a good generic message, but like he needs to tie it to an actual agenda.
Yeah.
Or like agenda that he can I guess express.
Yeah.
Through
And put
policy,
into motion,
but
like
policy
proposals.
proposal.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
okay.
So we don't know that at this point. He has been someone in the past. He has been supportive of raising taxes on the wealthy. So, again, that's something that we can agree with. It's just that no matter how good of a candidate he is, or even if he's not, at this point in the process, we're in the month of July. We've already had one debate. I just don't know how much traction he can get. He has not been involved in politics before, not in an official capacity. He has been a donor. I think him and his wife, Catherine, they are the number 2 overall donors, I believe, lifetime, have given the most to candidates or causes. And so he's used a lot of his money since President Trump was elected. He's used that to advocate for his impeachment.
Yeah, I guess his side job, or he considers himself an anti-Trump activist.
Right.
I guess.
Yes.
I don't know how well that's going to play out.
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
There's a lot of animosity towards Trump, so I don't know. I don't know. The point is, if anything's going to carry him to relevancy, it would be his money at this point. Again, he's going to use his money and he's going to get in front of a lot of voters. He's going to ads and all of that. So maybe it will have an effect on the polls. Maybe it will have effect on people that are contributing to his campaign, and he will make it onto the stage.
Maybe he's hoping that there's going to be some more people that'll drop out.
Maybe. Look,
it came like right after Swalwell dropped out. So.
True. The one thing that he has going for him is that he is a billionaire and he has money to spend. Without that, and coming into the race this late, you don't have a shot. You probably don't have a shot in hell, unless you do have like that supreme name recognition to where just your name alone will carry that much weight, and he doesn't have that.
Oh, like Biden.
Yeah, Biden. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. But again, this is another. I guess. Not related to, but in connection to what Trump was. I mean, this is another billionaire that has never held political office, I don't believe, and getting involved.
So he has the advantage of not having a political record or an
Yes.
official political history, just like Donald Trump.
That's the
But he
age
just
that we're living in now.
but he comes off more like a benevolent billionaire.
Yeah, he's the other side of Trump, the billionaire. He's the billionaire that I guess is trying to advocate for people, like I guess on the real, Trump did that shit, on the fake, of course. He was never going to actually work for the little guy,
And
the middle class.
he never had a history of doing that.
Exactly.
During his business life.
Never. So anyway, we'll see. We'll see what his candidacy brings. But in other news, in election season 2020, second quarter fundraising totals have, some of them have been revealed. Candidates have until July 15th to report their numbers to the FEC, but some have already reported those numbers. So leading the way in the second quarter was Mayor Pete Buttigieg, the South Bend mayor.
I'm not surprised.
I can't say I'm not surprised. But I guess, okay, on its face, I'm surprised. When you look at, I guess, the numbers and the tactics he employed to get to that number, like who he coveted those funds from.
Yeah, I think
then it's like, okay.
Yeah, I think
right.
like if you're not looking at these numbers superficially, you have to go there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that his campaign. I think his campaign hopes that people will not dig into those numbers and where those funds came from. I think that's what they're hoping to do. They just say, hey, look at this number. So
it's
like
big.
It's big, so that must mean there's a lot of support for us. But what number is more important though?
Overall contributors. That's probably that's probably like the one stat that you want to look at because one donor means, or it could mean, one vote. So you really want to look at overall votes and how much support you have in that regard, not how much money you have. But anyway, so Pete Buttigieg, he, as of right now, because all candidates have not reported, but of course these are looked at as the front runners, $24.8 million from about 294,000 contributors. So I believe his average contribution, he said, was, or his campaign said, was about $47, $47.50.
And that is the second highest average.
That's the second highest.
Biden, of course, unsurprisingly, was first.
Yes.
With,
it was $49. Well, no, yeah, it was
$49.
$49. His average contribution. Yeah.
So Buttigieg is $2 below Biden. Now, he is behind Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, and another one. I think he's either 5th or 6th in the polls right now.
Is he?
I think he's ahead of O'Rourke.
I would think so. I would think he's definitely above O'Rourke, considering his performance at the debate. So, I would think so.
So the way he's tiered, as far as on the polls, it doesn't line up with like how much money he's getting.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. I don't know. But anyway, like you said, Joe Biden, his average contribution was $49. In the second quarter, he raised the second most as of right now, $21.5 million. $21.5 million from about 256,000 contributors, which is less than Buttigieg's. Elizabeth Warren, as of right now, is third with about $19 million raised in the second quarter. Bernie Sanders comes in at fourth at this point, $18 million from more than 1 million donations. The average donation being $18. Okay. So we don't. I don't believe we know how many contributors made up those donations, but figuring that he far outpaced the group back in the first quarter with individual donations and individual contributors total, I think it's very likely that he's doing the same thing right now.
Exactly. We're going to judge them based on the same metric. It's not that they came to that number, especially for Bernie.
Right.
So if you look at these individual donations and the amount that he received, like comparatively, it outclasses the three top candidates.
It does.
No, I'm sorry, the other candidates that are in the top with him.
It does.
Well, Warren, Harris, and Biden.
Yeah. Well, so, no, Warren, Buttigieg.
Yeah. I'm talking about for poll.
Oh, in polling.
In polling.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah. Harris is the 5th on this list in fundraising for the second quarter. She raised nearly $12 million from 279,000 contributors, the average donation being about $39. So look, the biggest difference is, of course, total donations that Bernie Sanders has, and then that average donation being $18. $18. When you see an average donation of $18, well, that's a lot of regular people. That's a lot of regular people. $18, like a lot of regular people can afford $18. When you're talking about spending $40, $45, $49 on one donation, I figured that would be a little bit too much for a lot of people. In one donation, I'm not sure that, I could definitely make multiple donations, but am I giving one candidate at one time? Me. Am I giving one candidate at one time $50? Probably not. Probably not. Now, multiple donations, yeah, but they're probably not going to be $50 each. So I just think, the way Bernie Sanders has positioned himself looks better. And he does have a lot of money on hand as well. He's going to be, actually for the second quarter, he's going to be transferring about, I think, $6 million from other campaign accounts as well. I don't know how that works, but that's what I read. So really the total that's going to be, I guess, reported to the FEC, or that has been reported to FEC for the second quarter, is like $24 million. His campaign also said that he'll have about $30 million on hand, cash on hand. So he's in good position.
According to MSNBC, his campaign is struggling. He's struggling. Struggling.
Well, like I told you before, ahead of the first debate, there was one guest, one commentator on MSNBC, and said that Bernie Sanders was lucky that Elizabeth Warren was not going to share the stage with him, because it would have been the end of his campaign. One debate would have been the end of Bernie Sanders, one of the front runners. Would have been the end of his campaign. Okay. So it seems as though MSNBC is trying to do something.
Oh no, they've been trying to do something for a while.
Going back to 2015?
Yeah, for a while. But I guess concerning this election, I've been hearing some dumb shit from them, man. Like, I think I was watching a segment with Chuck Todd, and they had somebody on that was saying that Bernie is fizzled out because he has the same agenda from 2016, and he has the same agenda he's always had throughout his career. And I'm like, how is that a bad thing? He's like consistently stood up for working class people.
Yeah. He should change that.
It's
worn out by now.
It's worn out. As if somehow, like, the system we live in has gotten better for working class people.
Yeah.
It would make sense then, but since it hasn't gotten it better for working class people, then I think a representative being consistent on that front is a good thing, right? I don't know.
You know who also has a lot of his positions?
Warren?
I was going to say the rest of the candidates.
The rest of the candidates. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
I was going to say the rest because seems like a lot of the things that he's talking about now, he talked about in 2016, and there weren't too many people with him. Everybody was with Hillary Clinton, saying that, no, can't do that. We can't go that far. Sorry, we're with Hillary Clinton.
You have a plan for that? Sorry. Hillary Clinton's our plan.
Exactly. But now...
So now, plans are popular.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Progressive plans are
popular.
Plans are real popular.
But since Bernie's been talking about those progressive plans for so many years, he's played out by now. He's finished. Even though everybody else has adopted those same things.
So they like the plans now.
Yeah.
But they don't like the person that kind of gave birth to a lot of those plans?
Yeah, Yeah, made them relevant and popular and stood up for them publicly. All right, so let's move on. So let's get to a big news story of the day. Jeffrey Weinstein. No, I was gonna say Jeffrey Weinstein.
You know what? That actually
it does play.
It still kind of plays, and it still fits. So it was a mistake.
The Steen, it's right
and
there.
it's kind of along the same.
Yeah, it is.
Lines of
same kind of
person, same kind of person. Well, not personality, but same kind of let's say personal endeavors.
Yeah, offenses. Yeah. Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, that's the individual we're going to be talking about. So Jeffrey Epstein, the billionaire, he was arrested by federal authorities on Monday on charges of, the federal prosecutors, they released the indictment, and it said that he used his fortune to, quote, create a vast network of underage victims for him to sexually exploit. They also revealed at a news conference that they had found new pictures of what seemed to be underage females at his Manhattan mansion. So he was arrested, I believe, at an airport when he was coming back from France in New Jersey. If this sounds familiar, it's because it's very familiar. Just about a decade ago, the same thing happened. Really, the same kind of circumstances and everything. So it was in 2008 where he was being investigated for the same thing. We're going to get into the particulars, but he ended up serving about a year in jail because
13 months.
Yeah, 13 months.
It was like, at first it was 18, but I guess he got like some time served or whatever.
Yeah. But again, we're going to get into the particulars. But that name, Jeffrey Epstein, has been around for a long time, and he's been associated with pedophilia for a very long time. Many people have been talking about that online. I really got it active on social media, I think 2015, and I can remember his name just coming up from time to time and being connected to pedophilia.
And primarily, his name came up a lot because of his connection with Bill Clinton.
Right. So. Pictures between him and Bill Clinton, pictures with him and Donald Trump as well.
But yeah, like, I guess records of Bill Clinton having business dealings with him, like, flying on Lolita Express and all
That's
that.
Right. That's right. So with this particular indictment, he's been charged with 1 count of sex trafficking and 1 count of sex trafficking conspiracy. The indictment says that girls were taken to a room to perform massages on Epstein. They would be nude or partially nude, and Epstein would take it further into some sex act of some sort. So again, this is very much like the case in 2008. He has pled not guilty. He has pled not guilty. I think in the court of public opinion, nobody believes that.
Especially based on his past.
Yes, based on that past. Where, like I said, this was a very, very similar situation. In 2008, that was the situation, I believe it was from the years 2002 to 2005 where they were investigating. And he would solicit the help of these underage girls that first, I guess, he would victimize, and then he would pay them to not say anything and to bring him more underage girls. And this is all common knowledge by this point. I mean, this has all been put out there. This was years ago that this happened, but it seems as though the same exact thing happened in this instance as well.
Like, I'm like curious as to how he made money, because this network would cost a lot.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Well,
not just to construct, but to maintain. I heard he dealt in hedge funds.
Right.
But there's like only one client that has been revealed. So, and a lot of the, I guess the money has been retained in like overseas accounts. So that junk has to be opened up. That junk has to be unpacked, because there's probably people kind of funneling him money. But I'm trying to figure out how's he making money. Most likely due to people gaining access to his networks and paying him for the services that he himself was receiving. You know what I'm saying? Other like pedophiles.
Right. I mean, I wonder how much money he would just have independently of that.
True.
Because he is considered to be a billionaire. So I don't know how much money he would just have disposable cash.
Disposable cash.
I don't know. But anyway, like I said, this is not. I guess this isn't really surprising news. It's big news. It's not surprising news given that it's Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, I think from what I was reading, I think the FBI put together a 50-page or a 53-page indictment back then.
Back then,
a 53-page indictment, that could have sent him to prison for life.
Right, but he did not, and we're gonna get into that.
Yeah.
This indictment, I believe, this was 14 pages, I believe.
Yeah.
And like I said, they're virtually the same circumstances, and the prosecutors are now saying that this is not a reformed man. Of course, he had that situation back a decade ago, and this is not somebody that has chosen to do the right thing. This is somebody that wants to take advantage of underage girls.
Why would he, though? Why would he even develop an inclination to repent or to reform himself when he hasn't really had to face serious accountability for his behavior? And he probably feels untouchable because he's connected.
Right.
And he has a lot of dirt on a lot of people.
So
why would he feel the need to repent? And he has friends in high places. We'll get to that later, but.
Right. The two significant outcomes of his prior case was that he did go to jail, but I believe it was a county jail or local jail. He didn't go to prison.
It was a sweetheart deal.
Yes.
It's not only a sweetheart deal, he got a sweetheart situation.
Yes. So he went to jail for about a year, and he also was forced to register as a sex offender. So that, of course, okay, hey, yeah, okay, he was, okay. It didn't seem to work. And I guess that's the point. It didn't seem to do anything. I guess he couldn't go where kids were. I guess he couldn't go towards schools and stuff like that. They couldn't be around kids.
But see, that doesn't even make sense considering how he constructed his network.
It wasn't that.
It wasn't like he was stalking schools.
Yeah,
or stalking playgrounds and parks.
That's not how he got it. No. He got other people to do his work for him.
Exactly. It was I think one of the main ways was this whole modeling business scheme that was set up.
Right.
And that's how he recruited the women.
Right.
Or the girls.
Yeah.
Girls,
yeah. The modeling business where they, I guess, believed that they were going to be models. And then he used that as a whole ruse to take advantage of them, and then further take advantage of them and others by using them to get others. For it like I said, it's a real evil process.
There's a lot of people involved, because we could easily just see Epstein as, I guess, the kingpin of all evil in regards to this, which kind of he is.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of coordination involved. There's a lot of people who knew exactly what was going on. There's no way one person could do this without the help of a lot of other people.
True. Very true. All right, so let's bring it back to the prior case for right now, okay?
All right.
The 2008 where he went to prison, okay? So in that case, like I said, it was between the years of 2002, 2005. And I believe this happened in Florida, in Palm Beach. And so investigators there, they found pictures. The same thing is going on right now. They found new pictures of young girls in his home. I believe the investigation took place after a 14-year-old and her parents, I guess, went to investigators and they claimed that somebody named Jeff had molested her. So that's when I guess the investigation took off. More accusers came forward. Same explanation or same, I guess, tales of massages and then money and then find me more girls and this and that. So like I say, it was a whole thing. All right. So this is from the Daily Beast. Okay. So it says, the case against Epstein quickly escalated to the U.S. Attorney's Office in Miami, then led by Alexander Acosta, But the prosecutor, now President Donald Trump's labor secretary, cut a sweetheart plea deal with Epstein and his high-powered lawyers, one that amounted to a mere slap on the wrist. Instead of facing federal charges such as sex trafficking by children by force, fraud and coercion, as laid out in the plea deal, Epstein pleaded guilty in state court to 2 minor prostitution charges: solicitation of prostitution and procurement of minors for prostitution. He served a mere 13 months in a county jail with lenient work release privileges. The plea deal also granted immunity to any alleged co-conspirators, including but not limited to recruiters Sarah Kellen, Adriana Ross, and Leslie Groff, or the alleged sex slave Nadia Marcinkova.
Now, was, I guess, the details to this plea deal, known to everyone?
It was not. So it was reached in secret with Jeffrey Epstein. So the victims, the people that had, I guess, come out against Epstein, they had no knowledge of it. And that is against a criminal act. It's the Crime Victims' Rights Act, in which that states that victims, they have to be read in to the particulars of a plea agreement. And they were not. So that's illegal. And a federal judge has recently said that, yes, that was a violation. And so that prior case is now being investigated.
As it should. As it should. Now, this is Alexander Acosta is somebody Trump appointed. This is a Trump appointee.
The labor secretary, the current labor secretary. And so he's had words now since, of course, a lot of people are looking at him. And there have been Democratic politicians, of course, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, that have called for him to step down. And he is defending himself. Of course, President Donald Trump is defending him. I saw Kellyanne Conway defend him. But in defending himself, Acosta is saying that, I guess he likes where this case is going. He's supportive of it. He wants justice to be had. And I guess he thinks that with the added information, they can do something more. And I guess he's alleging that he didn't have the goods. He didn't have the ability to I guess, go after Epstein with more force.
Even though the indictment documentation at that time had 4 times as much material.
Yes.
So are we to really believe that?
He was looking at life in prison.
He was looking, exactly. So there was enough there.
Yeah.
There was plenty there.
And instead, he got 13 months in a local jail. It wasn't even, the case wasn't even prosecuted. It was they reached an agreement to avoid prosecution.
Yeah, a lot of people are blaming the FBI. I've seen a lot of pedogators, QAnoners, and forever Trumpers deflect to Robert Mueller, saying that he was the architect of this sweetheart plea deal. And I'm like, because he was the head of the FBI. And I was like, you know the head of the FBI doesn't get directly involved in stuff like that. Once they produce the indictment and the indictment recommendations with all the facts and all the information and all the evidence, what happens to that case? The case goes to the jurisdiction where the crimes were committed.
Yes.
That's what happens.
You'd have to think that the head of the FBI is in every state.
No, he's like, no, like
making every move.
It goes. It's I guess the coordination for the investigation takes place
in the jurisdiction.
And whatever I guess if the FBI is involved, it's usually like the state FBI office anyway. Yes, they like I guess obviously the head of the FBI does kind of oversee everything, but most of the investigation and the documentation that's collected, evidence that's collected, it happens through like the state field office. But anyway, even after that, it goes to the jurisdiction. That's how it always happens. So I don't understand why people are deflecting attention.
Come on.
I don't understand that at all.
You understand. But I mean, like Mueller would have had tremendous foresight to envision that, Donald Trump was going to be president right now at this moment, and that Epstein is connected to. I mean, this was a long ploy. This is a long con.
Oh, it's definitely a long con. It would have to be. It would have to be. So it's essentially Alexander Acosta is on the hook for this plea deal.
Yes, as he should be.
I mean,
as he should
and
be.
the lawyers that represent Epstein,
Right.
which we'll get to who they're connected to a little later, just a little later, but soon. But real soon.
So, okay, so again, look, you have to get into the connections. I mean, you're already going there. I mean, you have to get into the connections.
I didn't know how much more you want to talk about.
Oh, no, we can get there, right now. No, we can get there right now. So, one is Alexander Acosta. And rightly so, he's being criticized for this. I believe he said he's not going to step down. I don't know if he specifically said he wasn't going to step down, but he is defending himself. And, Trump is defending him, defending Epstein, not Epstein, but defending Acosta as well. Epstein, and you already, I guess, suggested it, or even said it. He has been seen in pictures with Bill Clinton before. Mm-hmm. These Lolita flights, that has been raised before, that notion that they were in this together. But it's not just Bill Clinton as well. The current president, Donald Trump, is connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Because when you think about the prior case, too, this was in Palm Beach, Florida. What else is in Palm Beach, Florida? That would be
Mar-a-Lago.
Mar-a-Lago. Yes.
Where I guess two of the victims worked at.
Yes.
Two of the victims worked at Mar-a-Lago. Do you think that's a coincidence? You think that's a coincidence?
It has to be really large.
Two of the victims are connected to this whole Epstein elite pedophile industry thing. Two of them worked at Mar-a-Lago.
Hey man,
the
wealthy travel in circles. It's not out of the imagination that Trump had nothing to do with it. The victims just worked at his little resort there.
Also, as we mentioned earlier, the victims were recruited through an elaborate modeling agency, Business Sheen. Coincidentally, Donald Trump is directly involved in that same industry, isn't he not?
He has been, yeah.
Yeah, he founded Trump Model Management in 1999. And if I do recall, Jeffrey Epstein said that he wanted to, format his own modeling agency after Trump. He used Trump agency as an example. Now, he could have been just saying that.
He could have.
He could have just been saying that to be like, well, that's the setup I want in order to do my dirt.
Right.
So
yeah.
it's not necessarily.
It's going to be the front.
It doesn't necessarily mean that Trump was doing the same thing.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
But it does kind of begs the question. Trump is involved in the exact same industry.
It raises your eyebrows.
And he has
at least
connections
a little bit.
to not just modeling agencies, but pageants involving young women.
Young women, yeah. Also, I mean, look, Trump, I think at least on an occasion or two, maybe not, maybe so, I'm not sure, but he has said some creepy things about his daughter before, and when she was younger too. And I don't think anybody is not aware that Trump likes them young too.
Yeah. I mean, he said as much.
Yeah.
He said as much. He's kind of boasted about that. You know.
And also, this was back in the day. I believe this was 2002 maybe. Yeah, this was in 2002. Trump told New York Magazine about Jeffrey Epstein. He said, quote, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it. Jeffrey enjoys his social life." End quote. So it just seems as though, look, Trump has always been considered like, your playboy type.
Yeah.
And these wealthy circles, of course, these people would probably connect at some point. He said he's known him for 15 years. Terrific guy. He even knows that Jeffrey Epstein likes them young.
So he's had a relationship, personal and business, with this guy for over a decade. Mm-hmm. And we are to think that he doesn't know anything about Jeffrey Epstein's behavior and the business scheme he used, the modeling agency to recruit young women into a sex trafficking, secret business industry?
I'm not going to say how much Trump knew. I mean, I'm not going to say Trump knew about him using that modeling agency as the front. to get underage girl. I'm not going to say that. But I would say that it would be logical for him to know something about it, though. It would be logical that he was informed about this in some way.
Yeah. I mean, it's just as kind of ridiculous for Bill Clinton to say he doesn't know anything, which he says. I don't know anything.
Does anybody believe that?
Nobody believes that.
Nobody believes that.
And there are, I would say, just as many connections, if not more, if we're talking about President Trump and his associates, including his Attorney General that he recently appointed, William Barr. There is both a familial connection and business connection that William Barr has with Jeffrey Epstein. William Barr's father, Donald, he served as headmaster at Dalton Private School. He gave Jeffrey Epstein a job as a teacher. A 20-year-old Jeffrey Epstein. I think he taught calculus and I think physics. I could be wrong. 20 years old. He hired Jeffrey Epstein at 20 years old, even though he's a 2-time college dropout with no degree. This particular school, actually last year, was going through a scandal where, I can't remember if it was the headmaster, but somebody really high up in the school was accused. There was a lot of evidence showing that there was some sexual misconduct going on in that particular school, and that was last year. So this school has been kind of has a reputation for the past 50 years. So I think that's a little bit odd when you hire a 20-year-old who doesn't have a degree to teach a class.
Right.
And so he has access to teenagers. Like, come on. There's definitely something there. Now the business relationship or the connection that William Barr has with Epstein is through the law firm Kirkland and Ellis. William Barr served as a counsel lawyer there, and Epstein's lawyers, I think it was Lefkowitz, Jay Lefkowitz, and Kenneth Starr. They both were lawyers at the same law firm as well. You know who else worked at that law firm? Alexander Acosta.
Ooh. Okay.
So we have like a convergence of the same individuals that have connections to both Trump and Epstein here.
Okay. So I'm kind of led to the Mueller investigation a little bit.
Right.
Not in the way where people would think I'm going, but I'm talking about Trump's defense. Trump's defense in the Mueller investigation was that I'm not guilty, I didn't do anything, even though we saw all these indictments, but that had nothing to do with him. He knew nothing. I don't know anything. I ain't do anything. All these people being brought up on charges, that has nothing to do with me. I'm not connected to them. I didn't know what they were doing. And now we have Jeffrey Epstein, and he has, on record, I mean, he said that he's known him for 15 years. He knows that he likes young women, or that he likes them young. Don't know how young. He didn't specify, but still he knows he likes them young. The connections that you just laid out as well. Direct
connections, I guess, via people that Trump chose to important positions in his administration. Secretary of Labor, the very person that gave Epstein the sweetheart deal, Trump gladly gifted him a position in his cabinet. What about A.G. Barr? I'm led to believe that, he wasn't just brought on to, I guess, as a, to protect Trump from the Mueller investigation. Because if you're just looking at the inevitability of, Epstein's, Epstein being held accountable, the Epstein fallout seemed to be inevitable, it makes sense that he would bring in Barr for that too. Something tells me he brought in Barr for that as well, considering Barr is directly connected to Epstein.
Right.
So there's a lot of conflict of interest everywhere.
But I'm sure that Trump supporters will say that, again, it doesn't touch Trump. Trump is, he's not a pedophile. And they will also talk about how Trump banned Epstein from coming to his Mar-a-Lago resort. This was years ago. This was many years ago. He banned him from coming there. And so there was another point. I think he called him out.
He called him out or some shit, but...
It
was something about, wasn't it during like the 2016?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I don't know if it was on stage or something or regard to Clinton or I can't remember where it was, but yeah, he brought that up.
He called out Epstein.
Yeah, he called out Epstein. I believe he brought up Clinton too.
Okay.
But that makes sense. That's right up Trump's alley. Right. And that's not like exclusive to Trump, but exclusive to the personality that Trump has. I was like, obviously, if there's someone who is toxic and who was publicly toxic in the media, wouldn't you just rhetorically try to distance yourself from the person? But that doesn't magically erase all of the very significant connections you have to that person. Not just connections, I guess favors you've done for people directly involved in protecting Epstein. So that doesn't erase all that.
No.
Simply because he publicly, called him out.
No. And I believe this is I believe this was the Washington Post, I believe. But they had interviewed on Monday. They interviewed a guy by the name of Alan Garton, who is an attorney for the Trump organization. And he told them that Trump has no relationship with Jeff Epstein. Hasn't had a relationship with him for, I guess, many years. I think Kellyanne Conway had said the same thing, how they haven't talked for many years. They have no relationship. But anyway, this guy Garden, though, who is an attorney for the Trump organization, said that Epstein was never a member of Mar-a-Lago. Doesn't mean that he did not frequent Mar-a-Lago. He's just never a member. And then he did say that, he was prohibited from visiting the club around that time, around the time that he was being investigated in 2008. And he said it was a reaction to the criminal charges.
Okay, that move makes sense considering that, he himself could be implicated too. Why wouldn't you want to get away from that?
So how does that
absolve his other connections? And how does that absolve the decisions he made to do favors for the people that have been protecting Epstein?
That's not an explanation.
Can you pedo-gators and you forever Trumpers and you QAnoners explain that to me? Because you know what this is about, right? Because this has connections to Pizzagate, right? There's this whole theory, right, that surrounds Trump being, I guess, the headmaster or I guess the
savior.
The savior in regard to taking down this global elite pedophile industry. That's been this kind of overarching narrative. And the deep state, this deep state narrative is connected to that. The deep state conspiracy is connected to that. And they're going after him. The deep state's going after him because he's trying to take down the elite pedophile industry.
So who made his connection to Epstein then? The deep state, or was it Donald Trump himself?
I'm trying to figure that out. Too.
It doesn't, like you said, it makes all the sense in the world that he would not let Epstein come to his property at that time because he was being investigated and charged. It makes all the sense in the world, but it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't absolve Trump for that connection and possibly what he knew about Jeffrey Epstein's actions. I think it's very logical to assume that Trump had some knowledge of what was going on with Epstein.
But see, that would mess with the conspiracy theory. And we know how all conspiracy theories work. They're not conspiracy facts. So they want to keep the conspiracy theory solvent no matter what facts present themselves. So it comes off as highly partisan. They don't care about sex trafficking victims. They just want to restrict who the scandal implicates based on their political biases, based on their support for Trump, based on a conspiracy theory and not conspiracy fact. You see what I'm saying? Because it's not supposed to touch Trump. It can't touch Trump. Otherwise, the whole conspiracy theory goes down the tube and they're invested in it and they don't want to give it up. So,
like you said, this is about, that QAnon, the Pizzagate and all of that. And
Pedogate.
Who, again,
And And connected to Trump, too. So
connected to Trump, yes. But who's on the other side of that?
Who?
Clinton.
See, and see
Hillary Clinton.
And see, and again, like you always have to bring that
linked
up.
to Hillary Clinton, of course, is Bill Clinton.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the launching points. That's just one of them. There's a bunch of launching points. We didn't really talk about it on the show, but remember that supposed camp out west in Arizona?
Oh yes.
That's been something that's actually still going on.
Oh my God.
You know, that's supposed camp Arizona. So you got that, you got Pizzagate, and you got Clinton. So all this this convergence of kind of I don't know, pedophilic conspiracy theory always leads back to one place. And so that's why I say it's partisan politics, because it seems to always lead back to things like George Soros or Hillary Clinton or all the Democrats. One party always leads back to one party. So there's a lot of partisanry going on here, a lot of political bias going on with this conspiracy theory. That's why I can't trust them, you know, the pedogators, the QAnoners, well, especially the pedogators who distance themselves from QAnoners but are kind of the same. You know what I'm saying? They're kind of the same. They're kind of the same. That's why they're disingenuous.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to control how the dominoes fall, because they already have a preconceived theory. They have a conspiracy theory, and that needs to stay solvent. Because Trump is supposed to be the hero here, so they have to keep Trump the hero, so he cannot be involved in any pedophilic activity, any kind of sex trafficking activity. So you have to continuously ignore all these connections and this evidence.
But really, it all boils down to Trump's words. It has nothing to do with action. It just boils down to who they want Trump to be and his words too, because they will point back to years ago when Trump has talked about trafficking and saying, "Yo, we got to do something about that," and you know, pedophilia and blah blah blah. And during his presidency, he has said stuff too. He's talked about that on the border. Oh, we got to get rid of the sex trafficking. That's why there's a crisis at the border. Blah blah blah. All this stuff, right? So they will use that as him having a history as being supportive of doing something about sex trafficking and human trafficking. But there's no act. There's nothing to munch on here. There's absolutely nothing. If you people assume that the Trump presidency has reached astronomical numbers when you're talking about arrest, when you're talking about pedophilia arrest.
We saw this after the first year.
Yes,
we got kind of sucked into Reddit for a little bit.
Like he's doing the most and has been doing the most ever since he stepped in the White House.
Shout out to court on that.
He's been doing the most since he stepped into the White House on sex trafficking. The funny thing is that when they point to the numbers, they're talking about local numbers. They're talking about just police departments and maybe local FBI, you know, assisting in investigations. And even when you're counting in those numbers, you know what most of these arrests are? They're prostitution arrests. You're talking about Johns. You're talking about people that are just paying for sex. That's what a lot of these numbers are. So
this is not
sex trafficking.
Some sort of elite sex trafficking.
No. But again,
there's nothing
here.
different about the numbers, right? Because that's something that the FBI and law enforcement has been going after for years.
And he did nothing.
And they always have initiatives, no matter what the administration is. Like there was an initiative under Obama. I forgot what it was called, but they have something. I don't know, like Project Mockingbird.
Yes.
Something like that. There was one of those projects under Obama. There's lots of them. Exactly. They always have something when they want to pursue some sort of, I don't know, I guess they have a new lead or something. There's information, so they have a task force.
But I wouldn't attribute that to the president because these are done on very lower levels most of the time. These are local types of operations. So it's just that what this boils down to is Trump says something, so it is so. That's the same thing as Trump is for the middle class, so I guess it is so. It's ridiculous, but that's the proof that people are offering.
I think the whole what I'm seeing in this is people are, I guess, apprehensive about how the dominoes are going to fall. I don't give a fuck.
No, I don't care either.
I don't.
Whoever it touches,
it touches. The dilemma is even if an even number of Democrats or Republicans are implicated in this Epstein fallout, unfortunately, we have to look at who has more to lose, right? Because the man that represents the Republicans right now and who is sitting in the White House as the president of the United States is tangled up in all this. There's no higher person.
Nope.
So it's definitely going to hurt them more. And the most prominent person that you can say is implicated, that is a Democrat, has been out of office for over 2 decades, and that's Bill Clinton. So does he really have any connection to any the current Democratic agenda? Is he really visible?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Do you see the current Democratic politicians or Democratic presidential candidates? Do you see them
being involved,
cozying up to Bill Clinton and being like, yeah, help me on my
candidacy? What about
candidacy?
Democratic leadership now? Like,
No.
unless like Nancy Pelosi, somebody who we hate, and somebody who's whack as shit lately, more whack. She's always been whack.
Yeah.
But
now she's really showing those.
She's really showing her colors with her her fighting with Alexander Ocasio-Cortez. But anyway, it would have to be like Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, dog. It would have to be them. It had to be them. It had to be Bernie Sanders. I'm like, so that's the dilemma for the Republicans. They have more to lose in this.
They do, because like you said, you're talking about the man that sits in the White House,
and the man who gifted positions to people protecting Epstein. So they have more to lose, regardless of how the dominoes fall and what people are implicated, no matter the party.
The thing here is to remain objective, isn't it? I mean, I know it's hard for many, many people, but we know that if this was Bill Clinton sitting in the White House, or if this was forget Bill Clinton, if this was Hillary Clinton sitting in the White House, would she not be criticized? Because she has a connection to Bill Clinton, and Bill Clinton has that connection to Jeffrey Epstein.
So a secondhand connection would definitely...
Oh, hell, man. It'd be all over the place, of course.
And it's weird considering that, like, the individuals that did, or one of the individuals that called for Bill Clinton's impeachment, which was Kenneth Starr, for just lying about a blowjob, represented Jeffrey Epstein. Like, that shit is mind-blowing.
Yes, that is shocking. Yeah. We'll see where it falls, man. But I think the focus should be on Acosta, definitely.
Barr,
and Trump, no doubt. Look, we're heading it. There's already been so many reasons to not reelect Donald Trump, which we have laid out many times.
Most of it has to do with, I guess, his abandoning. Well, I say abandon like he was ever for the working class.
Yeah.
But most of it surrounds his capitulation and him doing favors for, I guess, wealthy people.
Yeah.
And corporations. That's what most of our commentary has surrounded.
And he has done that ever since he's been in office. But it's not just that, though. It's how he has handled himself when there have been questions about, like, who he is and, what kind of... I guess morals he has, this whole Mueller investigation, which many people aren't talking about nowadays, is it's kind of faded away a little bit.
We'll be talking about a week.
Yeah, about a week. But still, how he handled himself throughout the course of that investigation looks like it was illegal. So it's like would you really? There's so many factors to Trump. And we can all talk about his policy positions. We can talk about how...
Immigration.
Yeah, we can talk about all of that and how he is harmful to the country and to the world. We can talk about that. But we can also talk about his personality, what he shows to the American people and to other countries as well, how he offends everybody, how he just presents himself. Is this the guy? Is this really the guy that should be the president of the United States?
He doesn't seem to have any priorities other than enriching himself and protecting himself. Protecting his brand, and increasing his brand, and kind of using his executive privilege to do so. That seems to be all of what he's doing right now. He doesn't really have any legislative accomplishments to hold his hat on as of right now.
Well, for the wealthy he
has.
Yes.
So what is he doing? What is he doing? Taking pictures and shaking hands with Kim Jong-un? Congratulations. With anything tangible coming out of it? What specifically can you point to? True. Other than him not fucking up the pseudo economy we have, the pseudo good economy. Because with the numbers that
The bloated economy.
Yeah, bloated economy. The numbers that the Bureau of Labor Statistics use to determine like how our economy is doing. Yes, that's just kind of like a limited snapshot.
Right.
It doesn't give an overall kind of outlook on like people's conditions. But if we're just going to look at those charts, I guess people give him credit for not fucking things up.
Yes, he's kept things status quo.
Yeah,
In that regard.
Because after the market bounced back, it continued to bounce back.
Exactly.
I'm not even giving credit to Obama. I'm not even going to do that.
Because it was going to do that at some
It's
point.
going to do that at some point because once a market tanks, it crashes, usually it catches back up. So I'm not even giving credit to Obama for that.
Right.
You know,
Any president in that situation would have done the same.
yeah, they probably done the same thing. But if we're not going to give Obama credit for that, we definitely can't give Trump credit for a trend that was already happening before he got in. So the only thing he can hang his hat on is an economy he had nothing to do with. And he's been doing that a lot lately on Twitter.
True. So anyway, this is, of course, the story isn't going away. I believe Epstein has not been released. I believe he's been remanded. I believe he's still in custody. I don't believe they issued bail.
He's a flight risk.
Yeah, I think so. I would think so.
No pun intended.
His money is probably international.
Yeah.
So yeah.
His
So
clients are international.
yeah, his clients. So we'll see. We'll just see where he goes. All right, let's go to Iran. So Iran announced on Monday that it had exceeded the amount of low-enriched uranium that it is allowed to stockpile under the agreement reached under the Obama administration several years ago, the Iran nuclear agreement. So this is believed to be the first time that Iran has violated that agreement. Of course, the United States is not a part of that agreement anymore. Our current president, Donald Trump, removed the United States from that agreement. And it wasn't because Iran had violated it. It was just because Trump said that it was a bad deal and kept saying that it was a bad deal. And he wanted a better deal. So he pulled us out, even though many that were even opposed to us getting into that agreement said that we should not pull out of the agreement. So the other countries
and our allies, our allies were like, nah, we're not with y'all.
Yeah, the other countries involved in this agreement, they did not follow suit. They did not remove their involvement in the nuclear agreement. But being that the United States did, and being that the hostile relationship that produced that agreement was the one between the United States and Iran, right? So without the United States in that agreement,
First of all, what that tells me is we shouldn't have any input on this at all as far as what Iran is doing.
No, we shouldn't, because we removed ourselves from the agreement.
You can't criticize what they're doing with in the enrichment of uranium when, we pulled out of the deal. The United States is the one that pulled out of the deal. So we should have no say in whatever they're doing because we tore up the deal. Well, Donald Trump.
The deal, it appears, was working. I think every 3 months it had to be renewed. And it was renewed several times while Donald Trump was president. It seemed as though Iran did not violate the terms of the agreement. But then one day came, Donald Trump got tired of being in the agreement, and so he pulled us out. So, like I said, the reasoning behind the agreement was that, yes, there were many countries, of course, there was sentiment. They didn't want the country of Iran to get a nuclear weapon. But that was led by the United States because, of course, the United States has that hostile relationship with Iran. Without the United States being a part of that agreement, I don't see any incentive for Iran upholding the terms of that agreement. And it seems as though they don't have, they don't look like, or they don't see the incentive as well. And so they said as much. And, Donald Trump, I guess in response to this, this was on Monday at the White House. He said, quote, "They know what they're doing. They know what they're playing with, and they're playing with fire. So no message to Iran whatsoever," end quote. I don't, again, we were critical of the move to withdraw ourselves from that agreement. We were critical of it. There's many people that had problems with the agreement. And there's many people, we heard that on the debate stage. We heard that, yeah, it was an imperfect agreement, you know.
But then you draft a new one. You
Yeah.
don't just kind of scrap.
You don't just tear that up without anything in place. And again, like I said, all the Republicans were against this agreement. But once it got put into place and Iran had to decrease the uranium that they were enriching, and they weren't able to produce a nuclear weapon, it seemed to be working. Now, it was only going to work for, 10 years, and then it would have to be renewed again. I guess maybe at that point, you could draft some other agreement or something like that. You can negotiate the particulars, whatever. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can get a better deal. But Trump saw it a different way. Let's just get ourselves out of this deal and slap sanctions on them, slack sanctions on the supreme leader because of the oil tankers being, bombed or whatever, and putting that on Iran. Again, what was Iran to do in this situation but say, well, why are we still abiding by the terms set forth with this agreement?
I think it's interesting that you mentioned those sanctions because the former ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, jumped into this.
She did.
Yes, she did, because she tweeted about this in response to an article put out by The Hill that reads, breaking, this is the headline. It says, Iran announces it has passed uranium enrichment limit, breaching nuclear deal, which is kind of like the title of this segment, really. Mm-hmm. Her response was, Iran's economy is tanking. Now Iran shows its true colors by attempting to blackmail the international community. Enriching uranium was always prohibited. If Iran continues, we should reinstate all the multilateral sanctions that were in place prior to the deal. Why that?
What the hell is that?
I know exactly. Actually, that's actually concerning because she was the ambassador to the United Nations. She served as the United States ambassador to the United Nations, and it doesn't seem as if she even knew what was in the deal because she says enriching uranium was always prohibited. No, it wasn't. It doesn't sound like she even knows what's in the JCPOA, which is the agreement. Iran was never prohibited from enriching uranium. They just had to maintain certain enrichment levels.
Right.
Their right to enrich uranium was always preserved. Mm-hmm. And they can use it for civilian purposes.
Right.
So you have the former United States ambassador to the United Nations not knowing this and getting on Twitter and kind of piggybacking off of Trump's dumbass rhetoric.
But that's a concern.
Okay, what else? What else from that? What else?
What's also a concern is that she's saying it's like she's postulating that this is a negative turn of events, right? We can't allow the country of Iran to produce uranium like this. You know what was in place that was stopping them from doing that? There was something that was in place that was actually keeping this particular circumstance from occurring. There was something that was in place that put the brakes on Iran. I think you referenced the JCPOA. Yes.
And obviously in conjunction with the Non-Proliferation Treaty.
Yes. So the U.S. involvement within this agreement kept Iran
at bay,
suppressing their uranium production.
It almost sounds like they want shit to pop off in the Middle East. It just sounds.
It looks like
it. Seems like they want shit to pop off in the Middle East for some strange reason.
So Iran is doing their thing. Iran is abiding by the terms. Okay, doing their thing.
Being the good guys.
Being the good guys. Like, hey, we're not gonna do it. We came to this agreement. We're gonna abide by the terms. Blah blah blah. Trump says, you know what? Nah. I don't like how well you're
abiding by this.
Yeah, deal. I don't like it. Something's up.
Something's up. Even though we don't have evidence that something's up, we think something.
Yeah, we think something's up. So we're gonna pull ourselves out. Iran's like, well, okay, we don't have any reason.
So if y'all gonna pull us, you're gonna pull out of the deal,
and then slap more sanctions on us. Why are we still Why are we still doing this?
Why are we still doing this? We already have the sanctions for actually not violating the deal at all. So what are we going to do next? How about let's enrich uranium?
And then that decision may lead to the United States
putting sanctions on,
more uproar, possibly conflict.
They're trying to make Iran into the enemy here, and it's obvious.
But it follows the pattern. Again, going back to the oil tankers, going back to the down drone. Now this. Who's ramping up tensions, man?
Obviously, Iran is. Obviously, Iran. I don't know how you're seeing it, but it looks to be Iran. Numero uno. The instigators. Not the United States. Share no blame. Not this administration. Not at all. Zero. I can't even be sarcastic, man. It's just, it's not even something to laugh at. Because this is the situation we're in right now. Like, we're nowhere closer to, like, establishing some sort of meaningful diplomacy in the Middle East with this president. Yeah. A president that was supposed to do better, right? That's what he came in saying, and he was going to do better. I'm like, and he's not. He's not.
I mean, it was concerning when he was exchanging these war of words with Kim Jong-un. That was concerning.
Hey. He stepped over a imaginary border, so something got done, right? We're somewhere. We made it somewhere.
But that was the only thing that got done, though, that he stepped over that.
That means something, though, right? It means something in the region. It means something for the people of North Korea. It means something for the relationship. It means something for the economy of North Korea.
Can you point to something?
No, but I'm just saying. I'm attaching all of that.
So it gives you the feels.
It gives... my feels matter. My feels matter. I feel like it's doing something. It's historic, and that's all that matters.
It's all that matters.
He exchanged love letters, shook hands, took pictures, stepped over an imaginary border. That's it.
So nothing actually changed. Like, we're at the same place we have been for years.
You have to look at it like this. It's foreshadowing. Foreshadowing.
This is foreshadowing. Like, what has happened is foreshadowing to a rosier future.
Yeah, Trump stepping over an imaginary border, shaking hands, exchanging love letters. That's foreshadowing for a better time, better relationship. Because that essentially, mugs were saying that Trump, stopped the 60-year-old conflict between North Korea and South Korea. Like, they was like currently involved in a battle or something. Wow. Again, this is another example where the theory, I wouldn't call it a conspiracy theory, but the theory surrounding someone's presidency needs to remain solvent. So they're going to ignore what is reality in order to keep what they projected Trump would do true and a reality. They have to just ignore all this other shit.
We've only seen so many presidents, us. We've only seen so many, especially given that, our age, I would say from the period of mid-teenager years to now, we've only seen a few. Only a handful, right?
And only and even though we've seen them, we didn't quite get fully engaged.
That's right. So it's only been a few where we really know what's going on, right? Taking I guess an in-depth look at it. I can't remember in our short history any president having such a low bar. I cannot remember. This is an extreme low bar for the individual that's supposed to be the top executive in the country.
It's almost like you are forced to set that low bar based on who he is. Like, for instance, I'll use a good example. Like, even for me, setting the low bar for the president, I thought it was kind of humble for him to congratulate the United States women's soccer team. Now, actually, I don't think he did that. I think somebody got control of his account and did that for him. I don't think he would have done that, especially with the beef he was having with the chick. What's her name? Forgot her name.
Rapinoe.
Yeah, Rapinoe. But yeah, he actually got on Twitter and was like, "Congratulations to the women's soccer team." I was like, "Damn, dog." I was like, "Damn, that's me setting that low bar because of what we know about him and how he's behaved." Yeah. So I'm like, "Oh, he got on. He gave a kind of humble congratulations to the U.S. women's soccer team, even though he's talking mad trash.
Yeah, he was talking mad trash.
But see, that's an example of even I setting the low bar.
That is a low bar because this is the same guy that
pretty much called NFL players bastards.
Yeah. But even in this situation with the soccer team, he said something. And this might have been in in-person interview that he was having with reporters. Not an interview, but he was just talking to reporters. But on Twitter, he invited them to the White House. On Twitter, he did.
Yeah, he did.
But then later, after that, he said that he never did. The tweet is still up. The tweet is still up where he's inviting them to the White House, even though Megan Rapinoe said that she would not go.
Dementia. No, that's serious. That's dementia. That is dementia. He's unbalanced. I say he's unbalanced.
You know what?
He lives in the moment.
Since we're on that, I wanted to show a video about that too, because of course, the U.S. women's soccer team, several days ago they won the World Cup against the Netherlands. They won in a 2-0 matchup. They won 2-0. So this marked the second time in a row they won the World Cup, which, of course, that's historic. So, it's empowering, especially for women. It's also sad because thinking about how much they're earning for it, I saw something about where if the men did not make it to this stage at all, the men are significantly worse on the world stage. But if the men had made it to the same stage, they would have made, I think, something like 4 times as much as the women. So, that's disgusting. I'm not a soccer fan. I wouldn't say I'm a soccer fan, but when I do watch soccer, it's the women's team. I do watch the women's team. I've watched the men play before. Not impressed. Not very much impressed. For some reason, I like the women's game more. And again, they have been more talented for years.
And so here's the question: regardless of the level of talent, I guess the amount of money they actually bring in, as far as the market, seems to be less. Now, a lot of people think that's a significant point, and saying, well, they bring in less money, less endorsements, all that, network contracts, because these networks and these companies that endorse these teams look at metrics to see what people are looking at. And maybe that is the problem. So yes, you can say, well, they don't bring in as much. And that's a good point. So obviously they don't get as much. But we have to kind of look at people's perception. Yeah. So people's perception contributes to those numbers as well. So the perception is off, in my opinion.
I think it is. When you're talking about different sports, look, I definitely would hope that sport like the WNBA, basketball, professional basketball, I wish that they earned more money as well. Now, their earnings have come up since the inception of the WNBA, but they're nowhere near the level of the NBA. And I doubt it will ever reach that mark of, the compensation that NBA players make. I wouldn't expect it to. With women, it's a beautiful game, no doubt. When you're talking about athleticism,
that's what people watch it for.
Yeah, in the women's game, you're not going to reach that type of athleticism that you see in the men's game.
People come for showtime.
Yeah, so it makes sense that they earn money in that sport. It does make sense. Yeah. With a sport like soccer, though, I see incredible athleticism in the women's game, and I see incredible athleticism in the men's game. Just like tennis. In tennis, I see incredible athleticism, incredible gameplay in tennis. Same thing I see in men.
That's a good example. That's a perfect example. Another example would be like swimming.
True.
And when I'm watching swimming or like you said tennis, to me there's really no differentiation. True. Yes, there's obviously there's a slight athletic advantage that the men have.
More powerful.
Yeah. But as far as it's almost unrecognizable.
True.
I can't tell the difference between 120 mile an hour serve and 100 mile an hour serve.
Hell yeah, it's just fast.
It's all fast.
It looks fast. I can't do it.
And I don't even gotta go as extreme as like say, oh, I watch Serena Williams, because that's always like the go-to. You go to whoever's at the top. But nah, like I've always watched both women's and men's tennis because there's not really a significant difference in how they play and what they have to do and the skills that they have to exhibit while they're playing the sport.
Right. True. All right. So anyway, but yeah, so I wanted to show a commercial by Nike. Nike wanted to celebrate the U.S. women's soccer team winning the World Cup, and they did so in a video. We're going to show a clip of that.
I believe that we will be 4-time champions and keep winning until we not only become the best female soccer team, but the best soccer team in the world. And that a whole generation of girls and boys will go out and play and say things like, I want to be like Megan Rapinoe when I grow up. And that they'll be inspired to talk and win and stand up for themselves. And I believe that we will make our voices heard. And TV shows will be talking about us every single day and not just once every 4 years. And that women will conquer more than just the soccer field, like breaking every single glass ceiling and having their faces carved on Mount Rushmore. And that we'll keep fighting not just to make history, but to change it forever.
That's a tight ad, man. That's a tight ad. I like it.
There's going to be a lot of people who get up on their feelings, especially like men.
Of course.
Even though most of the sports world and sports advertising is kind of caters to men and directed at men, I don't feel no type of way about it.
I feel good.
About it. You know,
especially I have a daughter. But before I had a daughter, I would feel the same way. Like, hey, yeah, I mean, it's good. I would applaud it. But I guess the added fact that of having a daughter, I definitely want to, push her the same way I push my son. But I want to see a lot of, women's empowerment. I want the playing field to be the same, and definitely want to, earn as much as a man, the same field or whatever. Definitely break glass ceilings, all of that. Do things that have never been done. Definitely want to see all that, man. But like you said, there's probably going to be a lot of hate, right?
Yeah.
I was watching, or I saw this on YouTube. I also saw it on Twitter. And on the Twitter account, Nike, of course, had posted it. And seeing most of the reactions were incredibly negative towards this ad. Incredibly negative.
For what, though?
A few different things. One, the whole women thing. I saw that. Just being anti-woman.
And then kind of a lot of it's probably influenced and sparked by Donald Trump's little beef.
Yes.
With one of the players. I keep forgetting her. I don't like to pronounce
Megan
people's
Rapinoe.
name. I don't like to pronounce people's name wrong.
Megan
so
Rapinoe. So yeah, that definitely Trump. I saw that. But also,
she kneeled. She kneeled for the flag. She kneeled.
Yes.
Like kind of like she pulled a Colin Kaepernick.
Yes, that's the name I was going to. Colin Kaepernick.
And it's Nike.
It's Nike.
So it's like all these like connected grievances.
Yes.
That they can't get over.
Look, anybody that sees that ad, I think you would leave uplifted. It's not just about it being about women. It's just, look, this is an uplifting message. So I don't see how anybody would get like some negative feelings towards it.
And it's connected to a victory that they brought to the United States.
It was a United States victory.
You would think that your
second consecutive victory on the World Cup
You would
stage.
think that these kind of flag-waving patriots be like USA. I'm not even like that. I've never been like that.
I really know.
But they have.
Yes.
You would think they would take an opportunity to like point
celebrate these women for what they did
American
for the country.
exceptionalism.
Yes.
We win. We're the best. But no, they seem to be like, we're like, they seem to be kind of like, I don't know, like vehemently and just adamantly against like them and their victory.
They are really against. I saw a lot of F Nike posts, F Colin Kaepernick and blah, blah, blah. And again, so Colin Kaepernick's name was brought into the news recently as well.
Oh, yeah,
so
that's
you
right.
got to go through all of this, why they have a grievance with Nike. It's not just because of the kneeling thing. It's about what happened because of July 4th as well. So there was a shoe that Nike was going to come out with, and it was the Air Max 1 USA. but it was going to have the original 13, that flag, the Betsy Ross flag, the 13 stars, that flag, right? It's going to have that flag on the shoe. And from what I saw from multiple publications, Colin Kaepernick, I guess, had a conversation with Nike. I'm not sure how accurate this is. I don't even know if Colin Kaepernick confirmed this or not, or even if Nike did. Mm-hmm. But it's assumed that Colin Kaepernick had a conversation. Was like, that's highly offensive because you're talking about that flag, that Betsy Ross flag with the original 13 colonies, the slave-owning 13 colonies.
Yeah.
And to put that on a shoe, that's mad offensive.
And it doesn't even make sense to put that out around July 4th. It doesn't even make sense.
Well, because the Revolutionary War, July 4th, Independence Day, that's why.
But I know why they were doing it, but what it represents doesn't match up with what we should be appreciating that day for.
Exactly. So, I mean, it was the right decision. And following that decision, Nike got another boost. Nike got another boost in earnings.
But they were mad about an executive decision.
Yes.
An executive decision that, guess what, doesn't affect their lives at all.
Not at all.
And if you look at why Colin Kaepernick is an activist, he is an activist standing up for people.
Yeah.
And people's actual lives being affected by the activities of the state. Yep. The activities of at the law enforcement.
Yeah.
People's lives actually being affected. That's what he's standing up for, and people hate that. But yet a shoe is restricted from being released, and they act like their lives are at stake. They act like
they weren't going to buy it anyway.
Remember?
They weren't going to buy it anyway.
They already boycotted Nike.
Right. They were burning shoes, right? They were burning shoes on Twitter. They weren't going to buy them anyway, but now you're all up on Nike's Twitter feed saying, I hate Nike, F Nike, go, cozy up with Colin Kaepernick. What do you got to do? You're already distanced yourself from Nike. What you mad for?
What was that representative that said, wasn't a representative that said he was going to cancel either tax breaks or something for the company, Nike in his state, or not offer any kind of something?
Yeah,
What was that dude's name?
I can't even call it.
I can't remember his name, but guess what? On the 4th of July, he was seen at a cookout, an event. Guess what he was wearing? Damn, I gotta look up his name, man. It was so funny because it was the main dude that came out and pretty much was grandstanding on Nike, saying, Nike's not allowed in my state anymore. We won't offer no contracts and blah 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 something. My man was seen with Nikes on 4th of July.
Look, man, if you have athletic gear, I think it's probable that you have a piece of Nike athletic gear. Maybe your choice is Adidas. Maybe it's Under Armour. I think you probably have one item that's Nike though.
What about the other brand that Nike actually owns?
Oh, what was that Hurley?
No, Hurley and something else. Very popular brand.
What's that?
Converse.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's right.
So they own Converse items. They got to burn those too.
That's true. I don't think they're thinking that way.
No. I mean, and if they
see the swoosh, they don't want it.
If they own a NFL jersey as well,
that's right.
That's Nike too.
That's right. These are, but when looking at that Twitter feed though, like I said, most of the comments were very negative and very just ridiculous, Yo, and I really, when I read those tweets, I have already lost a little bit of optimism in humanity.
Okay.
When I read feeds like that, and I see the ad, and you saw the ad, and I don't think there's any other way to take that but positive. And when I see just ridiculous comments and F Nike and blah, 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 Kaepernick, and, you took that flag off of the shoes and this, and I'm like, dude, really?
What does that have to do with that particular commercial? What does that have to do with that particular commercial?
Oh, man, I don't know, man. It's depressing, man. It's depressing. All right, let's see. I think we only got one more, right? Harris.
Yeah. Kamala Harris's big plan.
Big plans. All right.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, Senator Kamala Harris, she was at the she was at the Essence Festival in New Orleans on Saturday. And she was there with, there were other Democratic presidential hopefuls. And they were, of course, selling themselves and their ideas. Many talked about different proposals. Senator Harris announced a $100 billion housing proposal, which targets racial home ownership gap. So, per the U.S. Census, and this is, this is why I guess this would be an approach for her. This would be, I guess, a target for her, what she wants to address. Per the U.S. Census, black home ownership peaked in 2005 at 49.7%, and ever since it has been decreasing. So, of course, there are different reasons for that. You can talk about redlining, which still, of course, has an effect on home ownership, black home ownership. You can also talk about the housing crisis, the recession that came after that, in which, in the years prior to that, many banks were targeting black people with subprime mortgages. And of course, they lost all of their equity as a result of that. So, again, there are many reasons, why we are where we're at and why black home ownership has been decreasing. So Senator Kamala Harris wants to do something about it. At the event, she said, a typical black family has just $10 of wealth for every 100 held by a white family. So we must right that wrong, and after generations of discrimination, give black families a real shot at home ownership, historically one of the most powerful drivers of wealth in our country. So how she plans to do that, this is going to be sort of like a grant program, and it's going to be administered by HUD, the Department of Housing and Urban Development. It would provide up to $25,000 or 20% of the loan value to people of color who have lived in these red-lined neighborhoods for at least 10 years. It also, the families that were qualified, they would need to buy a house for less than $300,000, and they would have to make less than $100,000 annually. Of course, there would be some flexibility in that regard, but an individual cannot make more than $50,000. And this is also a little bit more information on this. Since the financial crisis, mortgage lending has gotten incredibly strict. Harris's proposal would add rent payments, phone bills, and utilities to the formula for credit scores because the current criteria, mortgage payments, student loans, credit cards, and auto loans, aren't as common among African Americans, leaving many without a scorable credit profile. Including rent payments and phone bills in a credit score and credit score calculations would allow more people of color to build stronger credit and thus have a better chance of qualifying for a mortgage.
I mean, on the surface, on the surface, I wish the threshold was a little bit lower. To me, the threshold is a little bit too high, considering if we're targeting primarily poor people. An individual has to be below 50.
Yes.
I think the threshold should be much lower. And
Because it's kind of high.
That's kind of high. The family has to be 100,000.
Yeah.
I think the threshold is way too low if we're trying to, she's trying to target, I guess, impoverished black families.
Yeah. Because I would think that if you're making that type of money,
as an individual, if you're making $49,000,
yeah, I think in most circumstances you probably don't have that much of a problem getting a house.
You probably don't have much of a problem getting a house. So
you would probably move away from those areas.
You probably move away from those areas. So it seems to already target what you would consider middle class, not actual poor people, the people that have been affected by redlining and gentrification. Again, it's a good, I guess, intent. It's a good plan on the surface, but I think that maybe the numbers are off to me, that's all. And it makes sense that she would kind of hold on to this card. Probably been in the works for a while.
Probably so.
It's just as the campaign season goes on and as there needs to be kind of some movement in the polls, more qualifications for the third and fourth debates, unrolling plans like this to kind of bring attention to herself. And it's not surprising that this, where was she at Essence?
The Essence Festival.
It makes sense, considering that Essence just gifted her, I guess, op-ed abilities in their magazine. She's going to be writing articles in their magazine.
So, yeah. Makes sense that, and to unveil this at that festival, at the Essence Festival, makes sense. Now, this is not a new idea, though. Senator Elizabeth Warren has a proposal like this as well. Hers, though, it may be looked at more comprehensive, but I don't believe it's as specific on the money end and, I guess the targeting of the funds. Like I said, I don't think it's as vast and as specific. So, yeah, like you said, on the surface, yeah, I believe addressing this area is very important. I think it would be beneficial to many, many people. I think she said it would impact 4 million people. So, I mean, that's good. I think I think the numbers are a little bit too high. If you're an individual going up to $50,000, like I said, that's, I just have a hard time imagining that many people that are earning that much money have too many problems, attaining a mortgage, So, like I said, many people would be affected by this in a positive way. So it's good. I would say, though, that I wonder how authentic this is. Kamala Harris is what I would call an opportunist. I think she's a phony opportunist, as if there's another kind of opportunist. Well, I guess there could be. You could be.
We talked about that earlier when she was having that town hall. You kind of pointed that to, I guess, as a concern of yours. That's how she came off authentic in a lot of cases. There are some cases we can point out where it was like, oh, you can tell it's slipping a few times.
Yeah.
Recently, wasn't she asked a question during some interview about Israel?
Was she?
Yeah, she was asked a question about Israel, and she made it like, she didn't know what was going on. She made it like you support Israel, and she just kind of like gave this long, drawn out, answer about like why we should support Israel and United States relationship, and the interviewer asked her like, so are you okay with Israel's agenda? Are you okay with everything that's going on and stuff like that? And Kamala Harris was like, what are you talking about exactly? I was like, you know exactly what they're talking about. So yeah, there are times where she can appear like she's genuine on the surface, just on a human level, and there are other times like, yo.
Because she, oftentimes when she has a very forceful remark, a position that seems like it's, as sturdy as can be, she often backs away from it. And we've seen this multiple times on the issue of healthcare, even on the issue of busing, which she just looked like she tore Biden a new one. She kind of backtracked from that position as well. So I just really wonder if she was the one to actually get in the Oval Office. I don't know. I don't know what she would do. I think she's a wild card. I have no idea what she would do. I have no idea.
Yeah, we have no idea what she would do because she has a very short history.
Yeah, she does. And like I said, I think she comes off very disingenuous sometimes. Most times, probably. So, we did. Oh, yeah, I wanted to read this comment. I think Moose Gal said, this shouldn't be about skin tone. We should make affordable housing for all. I agree with that, no doubt.
But if you're rolling something out.
Yeah. But see, look, because I've talked about, you remember when Bernie Sanders talked about Clyburn's, what was it, 2030?
20-something, yeah.
Something like, I forgot what the bill is called. But that was really going to impact more white people than it would black people because of the positioning of, where those funds would be allocated. And I'm good with addressing poverty nationwide. I'm good with that. I don't care what color it hits, no doubt. But I do believe there needs to be a targeted approach for black people because we were targeted. We were targeted because we were black. So there needs to be a targeted approach for black people. There has to be a targeted approach for black people or they're not going to rise in the same way as white people. It's just not going to happen.
I agree. It just has to be like, I think what Moose Gal is just saying is it has to be some, another parallel program or some sort of parallel policy that kind of helps everybody as well, which I'm
good with
opposed to.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that. Straight up.
But
I want poverty to be stricken out.
Yeah,
entirely.
But you're talking, it just is more about a increased focus.
Yes.
That's all.
Yes. Because like I said, I think there has to be a selective focus on black people, because negatively we were selectively focused on. You know what I'm saying? That has had, just absolutely horrific effects.
The thing is, there's going to be white people that are going to benefit from it, because the proposal doesn't specify race.
It does not.
So it's still going to benefit white people,
right?
Or some white people, because it has more to do with class.
Right. That's true. All right. All right. Okay. Let me see. All right. So I think that's the last story that we gotta go to. Let me see if there's anything.
Anybody in the chat? I don't see anything. We haven't been paying. I know I haven't been paying attention to the chat all show.
You know what? Something is. For the first time, we're gonna have to go on break for just 1 second, because something is going on real quick. So I'm gonna hit the break just for about a minute, and then we're gonna come right back. All right, just for 1 minute. All right, we are back. Sorry for that little break there. We had to clean up some technical problems here before we got to the callers, but yeah. So let's put up the graphics so that everybody will know exactly what number to call in. The number to call in here is 669-900-6833. We definitely want to hear from you. It could be anything that we've talked about on tonight's program, or maybe something that we did not cover, because we know that there's a lot that we have not had a chance to cover.
Week and a half gone.
Yeah, week and a half gone. So might be something on your mind that we haven't had the ability to address. So whatever it is, we would love to hear your voice. So definitely give us a call. Let me set up this environment so that we can take our first caller here. So, yeah, we still got everybody with us, so that's good. All right. All right. All right, there we go. All right. I wonder if L Train is out here, man. I wonder if L Train.
See, I already know why you.
I wonder if
I already know why you went there. Because see, we haven't really been dialoguing with L Train since before, like all like the free agency.
Yeah, man.
Season. So yeah.
I wonder if L Train. Maybe L Train will come, into the chat.
He's usually talkative, so if he's here,
he does come late sometimes. He does
Yeah,
come late
right,
sometimes. But I got a little something for him. I got a little something for him. But we got some callers already in the queue. So let's go to the first one here. Let's click that up. All right. So the first caller is from the 218 area code. Caller, you're on the air live with LTMB.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Artificial Morphos Man from the room, Christopher. This is my third time calling in. How you guys?
Good, Christopher. How you doing tonight, man?
Good. Hey, so I've been in the Discord chat with your name on it, hanging out with some good people. And this guy that lives in Iowa was telling me about how they're trying to do this thing for the primary where they're telling all the young voters, hey, you can vote online, you can vote, with your phone, you can vote online. But what they're doing is it'll only count 10% of those votes. So like all the old people go in person and it'd be one vote, one person. But they're trying to pull the wool over the young people's eyes. It's this guy, Snorks. He's super knowledgeable, and he lives in Iowa. And so he goes to all these conventions and events, and he knows what's going on. He's following it very closely. Mm-hmm. And so he's been telling us about this in Discord. And I'm just wondering if you guys have heard anything about it. And because like in 2016, there's tons of shenanigans and election fraud going on in Iowa, the first primary, and it was like neck and neck with Hillary and Bernie. And it came down to like 7 or 9 coin tosses, and she won every one of them, and then took all the delegates and won the state. And so it really comes down to Iowa, and this is just more shenanigans with they're trying to manipulate it to get whatever the corporate DNC choice would be, and screwed Bernie out of the first state. And if I think there's a lot of young voters in Iowa. I think there's a lot of Bernie support in Iowa, and I think he could totally take that state unless they pull all these shenanigans like what this guy's talking about. Just your thoughts.
I haven't even heard of this.
Yeah, I remember Snork saying something about it, something about the process and how it was looking real shady. So, I mean,
it makes sense because Bernie has, I think, one poll I saw, he has more support from people like under 40 than all the other candidates.
Look, we already see some of the things that we were seeing back in 2015, especially by the media, how they're trying to suppress his candidacy. I do remember what you're talking about in 2016, where it was like the coin flips. There was even one situation that I read about where O'Malley, the whole caucus thing, I can't stand anyway. I don't even know why we're still doing caucuses. But there was a situation where I think Bernie was going to take the win in that particular district or whatever, and precinct, whatever. And O'Malley's people had to dissolve because he wasn't going to get enough of the votes. So they no, my bad. His people weren't going to get enough votes, so they weren't going to count. So Hillary's people went over to O'Malley's to make him count,
yeah.
And she was still able to get the win. Like some kind of like shenanigans like that I remember hearing about. So I wouldn't be surprised if something else is in the works. Again, I don't understand why we're still doing caucuses in the year 2019. It should just be one vote, one person. That seems simple enough. I don't understand why it's any other process. So I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I don't know what you can do about that, really. Not at this point.
It's just really scary when, you have these corporate politicians saying, most important thing you can do is vote. But then they do everything they can to quash that vote when it's a progressive.
Right.
Anyway, just wanted to bring that to people's attention because, Iowa is the first primary. And, if people come out to vote for Bernie and he takes Iowa, well, the mainstream media is going to have to address that. They can't just omit that. They can't ignore it anymore. So I think Bernie's the only one that can beat Trump. If Elizabeth was, if she was behind Medicare for all 100% and running on that, then people would get excited and people would show up to vote for her. But she's not. She's walking it back. And she didn't even have it on her website, just like one mention of it. So I think Bernie's our only hope to get Trump out of office. And I'll hang up and let other people call in.
Okay.
All right. We appreciate you calling in, Christopher. Good to hear from you.
Thanks.
Yeah, man. Like I said, at this point, I don't know what you can do about the whole system. The proceedings and how they're going to be, done. I don't know if you can do it. I will say Bernie probably has a good chance though, because in 2016 it was a very close race between him and Hillary Clinton. A lot of people thought, many thought that he had a very good chance of winning, and he did have a very good chance of winning. So we'll see if that extends to 2018 and 2020, and if anything holds them back from that. So let's get to the next caller from the 617 area code. You're on the air live with LTMB. Hello, 617. One more time, 617. All right, 617 is not there. All right. So we're going to get to the next caller from the 919 area code. You're on the air live with LTMB.
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, you can hear me. Oh, okay. This is Calvin.
Calvin, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. One thing that I was thinking about was, I'm looking at the polls after the debate and everything, and all of a sudden you see Kamala Harris rising through the top, and they're saying, Bernie Sanders, he's a has-been, he's burnt out. And I'm like, who are they polling when they do these polls? It's like, how are they arranging these questions? Because all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, does Kamala Harris really have that much support? I mean, it just seems like to me that they're trying to scope a narrative by the polls. And then you hear everybody in the corporate media saying that Bernie, he's yesterday's news, he's leftovers, and that you got younger people now to carry this message that he has. So we don't really need him to carry it, even though he's the only person who's lived up to the hype and actually walked the walk for the whole thing. Tell me your opinion, what you think about what I just said. And I'm going to go so you can let other people pick other calls up.
All right, well, appreciate your call, Calvin.
All right.
I mean, because
it's kind of like what we were just talking about earlier, too.
Yeah, I mean, the corporate media is kind of run by the people that will be I guess, negatively affected by Bernie's policies. They feel slighted. They're essentially corporate networks, and Bernie Sanders is an anti-corporate candidate. So, of course, they're going to try to spin their narrative regardless of what presents itself as fact. Like you mentioned, the polls. And what were you about to say? You about to say something about probably like donors, individuals? You about to...
Well, no, I was just saying we were saying the same thing earlier in this program. And to say, to point to, like, because I've heard that too, of course. We have younger candidates that are espousing the same thing as Bernie Sanders. Yeah, but they're doing it in a more disingenuous way, aren't they? Because Kamala Harris has piggybacked on Bernie Sanders' 2016 presidential bid, but she's doing it in a very disingenuous way. She was one of the original co-sponsors of the Medicare for All bill. But what has she done on this stage? She has walked it back many, many times. So you can't say that there are other people saying the same thing as Bernie Sanders and not highlight how they have like wavered on these issues as well. If we want somebody that will really do something about them, that will really try to get something done about them, why don't we just pick the guy that's been singing the same song for many, many years and hasn't wavered? That would probably be the most prudent thing to do. So, all right, let's get to the next caller. Next caller is from the 617 area code again. I believe this is the last caller. Maybe we had some difficulties before. 617,
Hello?
you there?
Hey, Mike. Hey, Will.
Hey, how you doing? Who's this?
You guys hear me? It's Ben out front.
Who's this again?
It's Ben out front.
Oh,
It's
Ben.
out front.
What's going on, Ben?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How you doing?
Man, we're doing good, man. Just glad to get back into it after taking a whole week off, man.
Yeah, last week I was driving back with my wife. We dropped off my daughter at my mother's house for the night, and I was driving back, and I was like, hey, you got to check out this Let the Madness Begin. They're like, you got to check this out. We're missing it right now. But I was like, you know what? I can pull this up on my phone. So I pulled out the phone and everything, and I brought it up, and I was like, you're going to like this. Sure enough, you guys were off last week. I forgot you guys were.
Oh, dang. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could have watched some repeats and everything, but, I love the live show because it's just so current,
Yeah. We understand.
Yeah. Welcome back, guys.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, so you guys, I have some points here. I don't want to read it from the script here because I know you guys were giving tips to another caller who kind of like was producing some of his own content. And, I heard you guys say, oh, you got to do the bullet points. You don't want to just read like the full sentences off, but I get some bullet points to kind of go over for you guys, kind of see what you think. I missed the first couple minutes of the show. Did you guys already make fun of Donald Trump about the airports in his speech?
Oh, Revolutionary War airports. I mean, we put out some social media commentary, comical stuff, but yeah, we didn't talk about that on the show.
Yeah.
I know it's a little bit lowbrow for our normal topics here, but
that's right about
so just for anyone who's watching, anyone who's watching and listening who doesn't know what he said, was basically during his military parade. That was, it rained on his parade, so it was terrible. There was nobody came out for it, and he spent a bunch of money on it. And then the teleprompter went off, and he started talking about how the Revolutionary Army did a great job taking over all the airports and locking down the airports and ramming the ramparts. And, I mean, you don't have to be the smartest guy or woman in the world to be the president of the United States. But in a million years, if you were faking your way through a history report in high school or junior high, I mean, if a sixth grader did that and started talking about airports, never mind talking about a car. I mean, cars weren't around. Maybe the steam engine was probably around, and I don't know if it was or not, but maybe the steam engine was around, but and I don't even think it was, but I'm not saying that you need to know everything, but airports. I mean, to be on the world's biggest stage and say something like that, it's just unbelievably dumb.
And to blame it on the teleprompter too, as if like it that came from your brain, man. Like, you thought that up. You didn't know what to say.
I will kind of surprisingly give him a mulligan. It's still dumb, but like based on the scenario and the situation, there's a lot of things that are believable about his explanation. It was raining, so I'm pretty sure the teleprompter went out.
Yeah.
That I can believe.
Yeah, I can believe
so
that.
I don't believe that was a lie. The thing is, like, and also, I guarantee you within that speech, it probably said ports. It probably said the word. The port was there. It's just that he probably didn't quite memorize all of it. And then once it went out, the only part of the word he remembers was port. So I guarantee you, it's supposed to say he protected our ports.
But if you say,
I'm
just saying, if I understand.
But
I really do.
but once you ad lib, there's still a problem with him, thinking that airports existed in 1776.
Like if I'm
That's
talking
still a
about
problem.
if
But
I'm talking
just
about
giving-
if I'm talking about the 1700s, and I'm like, yeah, man, times was hard, and man, they had to deal with this and that, and the computers would be on the fritz sometimes, and
Yeah, I know.
like,
he's
I
saying,
can't say that
he's
and be like, hold
man,
on, that don't sound right.
You can say, yeah, it was hard for some of the soldiers to pass messages because the network was down, AT&T was down.
No, you would be like, hold on, what time period are we talking about?
Yeah, the Wi-Fi was down.
Come on, man. Come on.
I know the QAnon folks will explain that thing. It was like ancient aliens and everything like that. And I'm all about sure I think there's probably life forms out there and everything, but the QAnon folks are going to be tying that back to the ancient aliens and about how the aliens helped us beat the English and all that stuff. So that was good times. It's just remarkable how hypocritical anybody who's religious and supports this clown or the oaf. If you're religious and you think he somehow appeals to your religion, if you think that he's a good businessman, if you think he's a cool guy, I mean, anything that you say, it just goes to show, we do have a serious problem in this country with education. And if we had a more educated population, we definitely want to have some Trump supporters. But I had some other things. One thing I wanted to talk about was winning arguments with libertarians and Republicans. And even though when I've called in the past, I've mentioned that I've befriended some of my my cousins and stuff who will comment on my posts, and I'll post something about Bernie Sanders, and they're like, yeah, we're not going to give out health insurance to everybody. I'm like, you know what, if you want to come in here with that garbage, I was kind of deleting some. But then at times when somebody else posts something, like a friend of mine will post it, and then I see some of these people who are commenting with absolute garbage. I've been wanting to kind of get involved a little bit more in those arguments. And one thing is, you're never going to change the person's mind who you're arguing with, but the idea that you have an audience who's watching it and maybe is a bit undecided. And so if you go in and let things go unchecked, sometimes people in the audience, if it's on Facebook, they're just people who are reading the comments, But if those people see these things and it goes unchecked, then they're going to maybe assume that it's true. If you get in there and mix it up, you're never going to change the person's mind who's making the comments, but at least if you kind of sort of crash on them a bit and do it in a good way, kind of have your arguments prepared and be good about it. I think that's an important thing for everybody who's listening to do, especially leading up to this, throughout the primary season, especially leading up to everything. The thing that the person said this time was that the left have paid protesters. So I've never heard of any actual evidence of paid protesters, and it was just a really stupid thing to say. So
that's a function of? That's a function of people believing, or people kind of thinking that people only move when they're getting paid. That's that's the capitalistic mindset. People only stand up, projecting, because that's what they would do. They only stand up for what is perceived to be right, or they'll only move if they're getting paid. So it's projection. It's definitely projection.
Your advice is pretty good though, because I I think a lot of people stay away from these conflicts on social media. I know I have many times because I don't want to get involved in it with these particular type of people. But there are a lot of people that don't involve themselves in commenting, but they do read. And so even if they are, not in the same mindset as you are, maybe you are informing them, and maybe they can be, turned in, a logical direction or something like that. So I think that is good advice.
I kind of take a different approach if it's more like face to face. Like social media, I'm a little more apprehensive. But if it's face to face confrontations, then I think it just seems as if you're more compelled because it's a personal engagement to kind of like either challenge them. And I have to do that almost every day because I do Uber. And sometimes when I get in conversations with people, a lot of things are revealed, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you actually believe this? Like last week, I picked up this 40-something-year-old couple from the bar. We started talking about politics, and I didn't show my frustration, but if I had an internal face, it would have looked like, oh my gosh. Like, they thought socialism was like when the government did things. They kept talking about socialism. And I was like, what does socialism mean to you? And I was like, oh, did government do things? And I asked them, I was like, do you have kids? And they were like, yeah. I was like, do they go to public school? And they were like, yeah. I was like, oh, so you're okay with socialism when it benefits you and your kids. I actually said that. So there was an awkward moment of silence. I was like, so you're okay in a socialist type system educating your kids? And they were just like, they kind of like stopped for a second. And they also went on to talk about how corporations are, influencing our representatives and they don't like it. But then like the next sentence, they said, well, capitalism is giving us everything we have, so we have it good. I was like, the cognitive dissonance where they're not connecting. And I was like, so you're talking about corporations influencing our representatives and making it harder for people, and then you're going to say, well, capitalism made this good situation. I was like, you just said the situation wasn't good. I was like, so the cognitive dissonance is out there, so you just have to pose questions to people that causes them to kind of like question like their position. So I had to kind of break down what actually socialism is to them. I don't know if it had any effect.
Yeah, it probably did.
But yeah, it was like they had that same, yeah. So it was just like, but I see what you're saying about involving yourself in conversation.
They just won't. They're just gonna be hoping that they don't run into somebody like you again, and they won't be challenged with what they say.
Well, yeah. But I do think it's partially because I used to want to kind of message somebody one-on-one and stuff, and sometimes I will. I'll send like somebody a message if I think that they can kind of be saved. But if I know they can't be saved, I kind of just go and kind of play more to what I'm calling the audience, because, people like Steven Crowder and Ben Shapiro, whenever they argue, they're always trying to impress the audience and influence the audience. You're never going to change the person's mind who you're arguing for the most part. I think I commend you for, trying to talk some sense into some people, but it's almost like the people in the audience, there's more of them, and they're more likely to be swayed. I got a couple more I wanted to kind of go with you guys. Joe Biden. Have you noticed some of Joe Biden's catchphrases where he says, "Come on, man"? Like whenever he's on an interview, he kind of just breaks that out, like, just "come on, man." And then he always says, "Look, here's the deal." And then he starts to tell you like what the deal is, and he's like, I'm the guy who does this and that. I know you guys kind of picked up on that. And then he
does it even though whatever he says subsequent to that doesn't make a lot of sense.
And then whenever he's done with a point, he goes, "That's number one. Now number two." So like he's like when you go into like ask your boss for a raise or something, and your boss is gonna say no. Like that's Joe Biden, and he's just like has all these kind of tough guy, what they call like a strict dad or like a stern dad kind of mentality, that kind of a vibe. That's what he has going for him. And when he wears his aviators, I can't help but think of Joe Biden, and I know you guys like sports a little bit. You remember Joe Namath, Hollywood Joe Namath, I think?
Yeah, I remember.
Of course. Jets.
Joe Namath with like his fur jacket and his aviator glasses and his wicked cheesy smile, just like Biden, and doing all sorts of inappropriate things to women. Like, I picture Joe Biden, and like Joe Namath is going to come out probably and endorse Joe Biden any day. I know that's kind of off the wall, but I just wanted to mention that. I thought you guys would appreciate picturing old Joe Namath coming off the field with his aviators on, just talking about what a great guy Joe Biden is and everything. And then they go out for soft serve after. So one thing I was doing was I was checking out. I check out once in a while. I'll check out like a Ben Shapiro show to see what they're talking about and what their talking points are, and so what they're kind of spouting off about. And one thing I noticed, I watched a Ben Shapiro show the other day at work, and he had so much praise for Joe Biden, and he of course was trashing Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, but it's called like the friendly Republican advice that you get from these people sometimes. So the Republicans will start to tell the Democrats what they should be doing. We're supposed to listen to them and everything. Mm-hmm. So, and he's saying his whole thing was Joe Biden's going to have a really hard time in a primary because the left are so crazy, but it's the only chance that they have against Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Like, this is just crazy.
It's good advice, right?
Well, hold on.
Hold on, Bill. We have two other calls that I think we got to get to before we can close out this show. So we appreciate you calling in, though, man. We always love hearing your voice and the points that you want to make. It's always a good conversation with you.
Yeah, good talking to you guys. All right, so I'll give you guys a call soon. All right.
All right, we look forward to it, man.
All right, take care, guys.
All right, you too.
Bye.
All right, so we're going to get to, I think it's 253 that's next. You're on the air live with LTMB.
Hey, guys, this is Jordan, Montana.
Jordan, how you doing tonight, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, man. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm going to have a list.
I know you
I think you guys were talking shit about lists on the last caller.
Did we?
No.
I think you said something. Or at least he might have. I don't know. But, so I only have two things. I put military, because we were talking in the chat about reducing the military budget. Mm-hmm. Right. So I was just saying that we should probably work towards cutting the military budget in half, to be honest.
Well, look, I don't know what the military budget should be, but it shouldn't be anywhere near what it is right now, especially considering what we know that money is used for and the wasteful money that is spent.
We talked about that, I think, the last show. You brought it up, but you were referencing another show we did when it came to like those little lobster parties that they had.
Yeah, spending thousands on lobster dinners, some like extravagant chairs, and all of this just ridiculous and unnecessary spending because they don't want to lose that amount of money that they get every single year.
They want to maintain that level of funding,
even
if they don't actually need it.
Exactly, yeah. So they don't want to give a reason that they can do without.
I think, like, if you're going to talk about reducing our military spending and cut it in half, like, I don't even think a move like that would come unless there's like a strategy change.
Yeah.
I don't even think a move like that would even be considered unless, like, I guess there's like this overall, like, I guess a purpose change. Uh-huh. I guess our leaders change the purpose of what our military does. Even for them to consider something like that, there's already been some sort of change to take place of how our military or how the United States engages with the rest of the world.
Because even though it's not considered the Department of War anymore officially, it still is. It's the Department of War. So what you're saying is that it would have to actually cease from being the Department of War.
Yeah, it would have to cease from that. So there would definitely be other changes involved. If I don't even think that would just occur in isolation and then that's it, and there would be no change to our foreign policy at all. There would probably, any move like that would definitely come with kind of an overall perspective change, an overall engagement, I guess, 180.
Yeah, you'd have to.
Yeah, like we have a couple of right-wingers in the chat I believe, and their main concern that they were saying is like, oh, pay the soldiers more, but that's not what I'm talking about, you know? It's like,
yeah, that's not what we be talking about.
Disengage, have less soldiers to pay them well, but, you know, like we don't need to be the police of the world and like massacring people all over the place. It's ridiculous.
We wouldn't have soldiers to pay or put in harm's way or deploy them out if our government did not meddle in other countries' affairs. Like we gotta just look at where this stuff starts at. It's not like this conflict just magically pops up. And I do think that naturally we're human beings, we're on Earth, and there's going to be natural conflict. We don't need to do anything to kind of escalate that or influence that or manipulate that. And this is what the United States does at a large scale.
No matter who's in
office. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and America doesn't have a good history on acting responsibly as being police of the world, so we should probably take a back seat to the UN, you know?
But
so
again...
we don't need to shell out all this money to do this shit.
But again,
other countries.
Like what Mike was saying, though, that would have to involve a policy change or a directive change because...
A mindset change.
Because
complete mindset change.
People... especially people that are in power, love to control others. And being on this stage, the United States of America, looked at as the leader of the free world, and we have all this power and, standing, people given that position, they try to use that power. And so it would definitely change. It would definitely require a change in mentality, a change in strategy, all of that. A different set of people would have to occupy these powerful positions.
Right. Yeah, it needs to be a large systemic change. It needs to be done responsibly. But I think that was just my point with that. I only have one other thing on the list. Let's put credit score because you guys, I think you guys have mentioned that. And I think the only reason I put that is because I wanted to point out how our system punishes people for being poor. And the credit system is really unfair.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing that I when we were talking about that with Kamala Harris's plan, the part of her proposal about including other things to include in the credit process, I think that's really impactful because there are a lot of people left out of a credit score because they don't have money to spend like on a credit. They don't get approved for credit cards. Nothing that they're doing in their life, even
if they're responsible,
doesn't matter. They have no credit profile whatsoever. So including things like she was saying about telephone, cell phone bills maybe, or rent payments, stuff like that. That does show your history of paying your responsibility. So I think that should be included. So, yeah.
Right, but like people who have trouble paying their bills and stuff, then they get a bad credit and then they're charged more for things. Like you're already poor and then they're like, okay, so now you have to pay more money for things. Like if you're overdrawn on your bank, they're like, okay, so now you owe me more money. It's like, I already don't have any money. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's just like it's an insane way to run the economy.
Look, I understand. It's like I understand why lenders would take that approach because, of course, you're dealing with riskier people because I guess they have a history of not paying their loans or whatever on time or just not paying them in general. So I understand the practice, but I think how to get around that is people earning enough money to not have to deal with credit. I think that's one thing, addressing poverty. Earning enough money.
Exactly. So you don't have to deal with trying to build some sort of, I would say artificial value.
Exactly.
That's what I...
Exactly. And if, when you're talking about just the bare necessities, you shouldn't have to take up a loan just to afford the bare necessities. If it's something, added on to that, and you've shown a history of not being able to pay that on time and you're charged more because of that, maybe I don't have a problem with that. But when people can't put a roof over their head or get food or clothing, shelter because the simple fact that, they've been impoverished and, in an impoverished neighborhood and they don't have money and this and that, you're just punishing the poor even more. Not with that at all.
Yeah, like how do you expect any like poor person to get out of poverty if you're charging them more just for being poor? Like it's the same logic of like how we have, with homeless people. Like how do you expect them to get a job if they're living on the street? Like they need access to basic shit like showers and like clean clothing to get hired. Like internet and like just basic necessities. It's ridiculous.
Agreed, man. Yeah, it's a problem. Definitely needs to be addressed. We appreciate you calling in, Jordan. All good talking points, man.
Yeah, I missed you guys for your fucking break. I had to call in. All right. Well, you guys have a good one. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.
All right, man. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you later. All right, so we got one more caller coming from the 514 area code. You're on the air live with LTMB.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Nick from Vancouver.
Nick, what's going on from Vancouver? I don't believe we have heard from you before.
Nope.
No, first time, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for calling in. What's on your mind?
Basically, like, just one thing is that, like, I'm pumped for Bernie. Like, I don't even live in the U.S., but I'm just, like, pumped for him because I think he could start, like, a chain reaction, like, among the world. Like, if the U.S. changes, that'd be huge, for a more socialist kind of approach on politics. I think that would be historic and, like, could really start a revolution, like, around the whole kind of developed world. Anyways, I think he has a really, really good shot because, like, last time, no one knew who he was. And this time, like, he has all the name recognition. Also, Biden, I think, is even more, like, repulsive than Hillary Clinton ever was, to be honest. Like, when I look at him in his interviews, I think he's just, like, I don't know. I think it's way worse than Hillary ever was. That's just my opinion, but I think a lot of people will agree with me. I don't know.
We've been saying that.
Yeah, we've been saying that.
Yeah.
He's a worse candidate. He's a worse candidate than Hillary Clinton. And the thing about Bernie that you're saying is true too. He had to play catch up because he was not known nationally. He just wasn't. And this time, he has that name recognition, and looking at these fundraising totals too, the first quarter and second quarter, he has a lot of donations. He has a lot of donors. He has a low average. I think he's set up for success. So we'll see, if he can do it this time.
And also, I don't know if you guys saw, but apparently he raised $2 million after the debate, which a lot of people said like it was kind of a lukewarm kind of performance. But even after that lukewarm performance, he raised $2 million after 24 hours after the debate. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. And again, the way he's doing it is in small donations too. So the number is, you definitely have to pay attention to the number, but it's not the most significant thing. I mean, we talked about that at the beginning too. It's not the most significant thing is donors, contributors, the total amount of those people. That's
because dollars don't vote.
Exactly.
Individuals do.
Exactly.
Yeah. And last like point why like he's so set up, I think this time is like Biden's going to nosedive. I think like he's out, and then Kamala is now having to play catch up where Bernie was last year.
That's true.
Because barely anyone knows who she is, or like people know, but like she still has way less name recognition than Bernie Sanders does. And then I just think I think he's got a really good shot this time, and I'm just pumped about it. And maybe like I don't know, we could do this.
I think he has a good shot. The Kamala Harris thing, I think she's definitely starting at a better point than Bernie Sanders did in 2015. One thing that kind of brought her to the light is her performance in the Senate. Especially when she was questioning Barr and Kavanaugh as well. Yeah. So that kind of brought her to that national spotlight. So she still definitely has to play catch up, and we'll see if she can do it. I don't know. She does represent the biggest state in terms of total voters. So I don't know. She has a lot of things going for her. So we'll see if people buy it. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, thanks a lot for letting me call in and for, I don't know, just having a great show. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, man.
Yeah, man.
For real.
Appreciate you calling in. Hope to hear from you soon.
All right. Take it easy, guys.
All right. All right, man. I think we had some good callers tonight.
Yo, it was all good, man.
Definitely some good callers tonight, man. Appreciate everybody that called us tonight and just got involved in the discussion. Yeah, like Nick was talking about, Harris. She's rising, no doubt. She's rising. I've seen the polls, and again, we're in July, 2019,
And so,
gotta take it with a grain of
in
salt.
2016, who was leading?
2015.
I'm sorry, in 2015. Correction, great. Necessary correction. So in June and July, who was leading the polls amongst the Republicans at this time?
Ooh. Wasn't that like Bush?
Jebby.
Was it Jeb Bush?
It was Jebby. It was Jebediah. That's not how.
Yeah. But it was Bush. Rubio was up there. Cruz was probably up there.
Fourth.
Yeah. And they got
Trump was at the bottom.
Yeah, he was definitely at the bottom. So
we definitely have a long way to go.
Like I said, the polls are somewhat, they're somewhat, I won't say important, they're somewhat significant to talk about, but you still have to just remember that we've had one debate. We still have like 24 candidates in the Democratic field. Many more debates to go. Haven't reached the first caucus or primary. At this point in 2015, on the other side, the Democratic side, Bernie was nowhere in the polls. Nowhere. Even though he had a lot of people attending his rallies all over the country, he still was nowhere in the polls. This was like a shoo-in for Hillary Clinton. And when it came down to the actual primaries, it was anything but a shoo-in. It was not like she just walked to victory.
Yeah, that's something you can't ignore is, again, something we will not stop bringing up, and the amount of donations, the amount of individual contributions Bernie Sanders has. A lot of people don't trust polls. Most of the polls I don't trust either. And two things you don't trust is polls and the dollar amount of funds raised. That doesn't really mean anything in the long run. The amount of bodies and the amount of human beings that support you do, because those are the ones pressing, I guess, making their choice at the polls.
Right.
And so Bernie has that. So I don't see how anyone, regardless if they're a supporter of Kamala Harris or Elizabeth Warren, even Biden, Buttigieg, or whoever the remaining candidates are, I don't see how you can just not see that as a significant metric to look at in determining, Bernie being a viable or an electable candidate. Haven't heard anybody use that word concerning Bernie Sanders or in regard to Bernie Sanders, electable. You only hear them using that term to problematic candidates.
Yep. And again, we will see many media organizations highlight the number, and that'll be the most important thing, the number, how much money you've brought in. And again, when you're talking about Pete Buttigieg, when you're talking about Biden, to a lesser degree, of course, or Rourke, because he's not doing well whatsoever, but him as well. All of these candidates are courting the advice and support of large donors, okay, the wealthy. All of them are doing that. So when you're looking at that big number, that can't be the top factor in like how well your campaign is going. To compare it to baseball, right? I remember, and probably anybody can, when you're thinking about a pitcher, right? One of the numbers that will tell you how well a pitcher is doing is wins and losses, right? You would think wins and losses. What about if you're on a horrible team?
Yeah.
What if your ERA is at like 1 or 2? It doesn't mean anything about
It doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. But that's how a lot of these pitchers have gotten in to the Hall of Fame, because of how many games they're winning. Because like there's only so many pitchers that have won, I think, like 300 games in their career. And it's supposed to be like this, like it's just like this really elite type of thing. But in reality, it means absolutely nothing. That doesn't tell you how good of a pitcher you are. You need to look into some other numbers. Like how many people did you get out? What's the on-base percentage? Stuff like that. So, like, how many walks did you dish out? I mean, there's other numbers. And when you're talking about politics, when you're talking about a campaign, it's not the top number.
Strike zone wage ratio.
Yeah, all of that. There's many other numbers, but you got 8 other players that are playing with you. How about if they stink? How about if they can't hit? You know what I mean? There's a variety of things to look at. And with politics in a campaign, that total number is nothing. It's really nothing on the large scale of things. What if, because to get to qualify for these debates, you just need a donor. Doesn't need to be a certain dollar level. What if every single donor to Bernie Sanders gave him like $1 or $2? My goodness. Well, his numbers would be looking horrible.
Would be looking low.
Yeah, but would that really mean anything? No, it wouldn't mean anything, because at least you have the support of these people, and it looks like they're going to vote for you. That would mean everything.
That's why
voting isn't a charge. You don't have to pay money to vote.
Nick brought up that he received $2 million in donations even after the first debate, which we thought was a little lackluster. We didn't think it was bad. We just think that it didn't live up to the billing that Bernie Sanders should have brought to the table.
Yeah.
But yeah, even though it wasn't like an exciting debate as far as like Bernie Sanders' performance, he still picked up $2 million because people were more concerned about his agenda and his platform. They know what he stands for outside of his debate performance, because he I guess you consider him an activist.
Yeah.
He kind of advocates for the things that are important to us and that we think are valuable in society outside of debate. So people see that too. They don't just see a debate performance.
And we've talked about this before too, especially when we were talking about the debate performance. We've heard Bernie Sanders say a lot of things, make a lot of connections, say things exactly as they should be stated. I will say that on debate stages, he doesn't put it together in the same way. And that's a negative on his campaign. That's a negative on his performance. There's a lot of places that I wish he would go, and there were many opportunities that he could have really like shined on that stage, but he kind of ceded that opportunity to Kamala Harris. And I know he has, he has stature, he has name recognition, and hopefully that will propel him to victory, because it's not just about that; it's about his policies as well. I mean, that's really what's driving it. But there is still the aspect of selling. You still have to sell to a lot of different people.
Mm-hmm. He needs to get better at that.
He needs to get better at that.
There in some cases he like hits the nail
right on the head. Straight up.
Sometimes he does that.
No doubt.
But again, that's one aspect of a politician that kind of gets honed when they're career politicians. They kind of like train themselves to do that, to be salesmen.
And and maybe that's the thing.
That's never was his deal.
Maybe he's not a politician at heart. He's not that salesman at heart. He just really wants to do the right thing. And like I said, it's not like we have not heard all of these come out of his mouth. It's just when it gets to the point where you're at a debate, you need to be on your A game. You need to shoot every shot. Take every single opportunity, because this is your moment in time. You have to sell yourself. And so he's not the best at doing that on the debate stage. And hopefully that won't harm him too much. It didn't really, I mean,
I will
it
say,
did somewhat in 2016.
Well, what he's,
it
seems like he's doing more this time is he is using Twitter though. And he's using Twitter in a very productive way, as far as like offering a counter narrative when the president goes off on his little tirades. He doesn't respond to him all the time, but specifically when Trump makes comments about the economy, he definitely retweets Trump and then offers a counter narrative that kind of like smashes Trump in the face.
I think he's more active now.
He's more active. Yeah, one of the recent ones I saw is that Trump said something about pharmaceutical industry and the prices are down low, and then Bernie was like, "Oh hell no, I'm about to show him what happened in 2018." He just laid out the facts. I was like, we need that from him, considering if he wins the Democratic nomination, he's going to be going against Trump. Well, that's if Trump is still there.
That's funny. But we need that on the stage too, though.
On the stage, yeah.
We need that rhetorically.
We need Twitter Bernie.
Yeah.
We need Twitter Bernie on stage.
Exactly, man. I'm telling you, you got to shoot every shot. You got to take that opportunity, and you know he's not a somebody like Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton. They're more of that like refined kind of like they will take the opportunity. It looks like they're taking every shot, but you can tell it's a sales job. You can tell they're conning you because you know their past. You know that they've been wavering on issues, don't want to answer for some things. So yeah, it looks like it's BS, no doubt. I don't know. Maybe that's, like I said, maybe you can't combine the two.
Weird.
Being authentic and a salesman. I don't know. In that in that role. I don't know.
Weird segue I'm about to, take here. So we're talking about the election and the candidates. Biden, Harris, and Bernie primarily. That's what we've been talking about. But I think recently we talked about Tulsi Gabbard. She's still in there. And we talked about kind of why she would kind of go out of her way to defend Biden.
Yep.
Sometimes I question like her response to a lot of the things. It just doesn't even make sense. I've been kind of bouncing in and out of some Tulsi circles on social media, and what they're saying is that's a strategy.
Oh, really?
It's a strategy.
Nice.
She's kind of defending Biden as a passive way of going after Kamala Harris.
Is that right?
Who has kind of been rising ever so slightly since that happened. That's what she's doing. I'm like, that's an interesting way to see. I already see them gears turning. And I was like, nah, just say she's wrong. Just say she's wrong in her assessment of the situation. Again, if you're going to do a passive attack, which I have no problem with, and if it's strategic like that and if it's passive, you have to be accurate with the facts, and she hasn't been. That's the problem. I'm okay with that if that's her strategy, but from what I've seen, her reaction to it hasn't been factual. So if you're going to do some sort of passive attack, you're going to cover for Bernie because you think they're more important issues, or you're just challenging the narrative that's been created surrounding Biden, the situation about him, befriending segregationists to get work done. You're going to have to do it in a more honest way. So if that's your strategy, it's not being carried out correctly or logically.
Yeah, I couldn't have.
You couldn't imagine that, did you? You couldn't even imagine that.
I didn't anticipate that kind of happening or that being. Man, Tulsi is like I said. I got problems with Tulsi, man. Not to say that she's not one of the best candidates for president. It's just when you're talking about when you're talking about like my presidential choice or what I want to see in a presidential candidate, really, it's not Tulsi. Not to say that among this group she's not one of the best. It's just I have issues with her, and she too many times seems disingenuous on this subject to portray the situation as Kamala Harris saying that Biden was a racist. That's not what happened. That never happened.
Yeah, she tweeted that.
That never happened.
Let me go find it.
So I don't get that at all. So yeah, that's an extreme position. That's like an extreme way to frame things.
Apparently, like David Axelrod jumped in, and he was one of Obama's strategist or chief strategist.
Right.
It says it sounds here like Kamala Harris is now taking something more like the Joe Biden position on school busing. So what was that whole thing at the debate all about? That was David Axelrod's tweet. Tulsi Gabbard tweet sniped him and shared the tweet and with her own comment. She says, I agree with Axelrod, but let's be real. It wasn't a whole thing. It was a false accusation that Joe Biden is a racist.
See, that's to the extreme. That's not what happened.
And the thing is, if you actually watch the debate, what she opened up with was what?
I don't believe you to be a racist. That she said that. She said those words. Nobody. We didn't say that. Nobody said that Joe Biden was a racist. It was troubling what he did and what he said, harkening back to them glory days with these segregationist senators, that was a problem. But nobody said he was a racist. For her to
insert herself into it in that way, it doesn't make sense.
It's a problem, man.
To us, like the whole situation involving Biden, I guess, playing nice or playing footsie with segregationists really didn't revolve around whether he was racist or not. That wasn't like what we were looking at. Essentially, he tried to go back in time to show how we can deal with Republicans today. That was what it was about.
Yep.
He was trying to, I guess, state his claim to being qualified to be president based on how he worked with who was perceived as evil back then. So therefore, hey, I am qualified now to work with, the Republicans today because, I did it back then. I worked with, people who were perceived as evil back then. So
and he said they weren't the enemy, too.
So it was more about about whether we thought that was kind of a rational take, like would that strategy work? So it wasn't really about him being racist or working with segregationists. It didn't even make sense.
No.
But now it did. We explored the kind of the racial aspect of it.
Of course.
Like, yeah, of course you worked with them because you were white and they weren't, out to kill or disenfranchise.
Exactly. They were hostile towards you. You were white.
So we talked about like how he failed to see how his identity played a role in that, but we weren't really focused on whether he was racist or not. We were just focused on whether it was a rational take on why he would make a good president or why he's qualified today. That's all. That's what we were kind of
to bring it back to Tulsi, that's why I got an issue with her. And I can even go, see, and again, this is trying to frame things in a way in which it is not. And you remember when she talked about the Mueller report, right? What I have a problem with, when the Mueller, no, not when the Mueller report came out, when the summary of the Mueller report was released by Bill Barr.
William Barr,
the 4 pages. And then she came out and was like, okay, case closed, blah, blah, blah. This could have led us to a civil war. I'm like, see, why would you say that? And you know I had a problem with that, man. Come on, man.
And then she said there was some people who were going to be really mad. I was like, oh, so now you just...
Civil war. Get out of here, man.
Or like, remember her thing with the wall situation?
Hell. No. See, I already got problems, man. She's just a little bit too disingenuous for my taste, man. But in this field, she is one of the best candidates in this field.
Yeah, in this field.
I would want something more in my candidate. That's just me, though. That is just me. So anyway, I think that's all we got for everybody tonight.
Yeah.
Like I said, glad to be back on. Glad that you were here with us tonight. Like to thank again our callers tonight. And that's Christopher, Ben, Calvin, Jordan, and Nick, first time caller. Nick, thank you all for calling in and adding something of value to the show. Thank you to all of our viewers and everybody that was in the chat section tonight making comments. Also have to thank our viewers that decided to give us a little bit of ends, gift us a little bit of funds in the super chat. That's Kat Dooley and also Mandy Sadowski, frequent viewer of our show. Welcome back, love your show, and our Discord community.
Oh man,
well that Discord thing,
I know, man,
must
popping off, man.
I know,
man. Shout out to Jordan, man.
Yeah, man. We're gonna get back on.
We're gonna get back on.
We're gonna get back on.
You gotta give us a chance to kind of recoup, get back into it, because that's extra time.
No doubt. Yeah, definitely. But I love you. All you keeping that thing running and
I love
more people.
I love the constructive conversation that goes on in the chat. Man. We can do away with some of the trolls that ain't saying shit. That's dumb.
True.
Actually, I'll be cool with it if someone would actually call in. Then it would kind of be well worth it, because then they could address some of the issues that they bring up, like directly, instead of just trolling in the chat. But if they do that, it might make their trolling look a little ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Somewhere in the chat, somebody said we should have talked about the Andy, whatever his name is, the dude who got milkshaked and silly strung, the Asian dude, at some rally or whatever. So we ain't standing up for that dude. Hell the fuck no, I'm not standing up for that dude. He's a horrible person, a Nazi. I just I've seen stupid ass talking points applied to that situation. Like, political violence is, I'm really actually for it. I know that might be controversial, but I am for it. If there's a group of people that are advocating for your extermination, you need to do anything in your power to make them afraid of you. And that's what Antifa does. I don't agree with all their tactics, but I understand their intent, especially dealing with bad actors like whatever his name is, Andy. That supposed they're calling a journalist when actually his job is to go to these rallies where Antifa is, antagonize them and dox them and, and expose them. And these are just regular folks who have real lives and jobs, and he makes it a point to just try to uncover these people's identities and harass them. So yeah, he gets everything he deserves. I don't care he was a victim of political violence, especially if he's a fucking Nazi. And I don't like when people take how co-opt leftist perspectives or co-opt leftist narratives and distort them and weaponize identity politics. Because the right wing always seems to, not like when identity politics is brought up, but as soon as an Asian gets assaulted, all of a sudden we're supposed to support him simply because he's Asian. Asians can be Nazis too. Black people can be fascists too. So Asians could be fascists. It's like it has nothing to do with what you look like. So you're taking kind of leftist perspectives and distorting it. I'm like, he's an Asian, so you should support him. Like, no, he's a fascist, so it doesn't matter. I was like, it's interesting now that people are using identity politics to defend him. It's just a distortion of leftist, co-opting leftist talking points.
Anybody can play for the villain now.
Anybody can play for the villain.
Anybody. Doesn't matter where you come from, what you look like. We got lots of problems with a lot of black people.
And guess what? I guess people like being the victims of a grift. Because he set up that GoFundMe before all that situation happened. So he planned all that. How do people feel like, being played?
They like it.
They like being played.
They
like supporting fascists.
They do.
They want to have any excuse to support fascists. But they somehow, they're more concerned with Antifa, who's not like centralized and who is just kind of fragmented little groups. They're more concerned with that than they are concerned with state violence. That should tell you something.
Yep. I wanted to highlight one other individual because this individual, I believe it was after the last show, which was over a week ago, made a donation to us, made a contribution to us on PayPal. And I can't remember what that individual's name was because I think he left it right after we got off the show, so I wasn't able to see it until later. Let's see.
Yeah, you're right, Jordan. You're correct. It's interesting how people present them as being violent when they haven't actually killed someone, when all these right-wingers, all these fascist sympathizers and or fascists had all these excuses when one person was killed and like 18 or 19 others were seriously injured by a car. All the excuses in the world. Somebody getting milkshaked is the greatest tragedy. Get out of here.
It was Richard Wembley that contributed to our show. So thank you very much, Richard, for supporting us and all of our patrons on patreon.com as well. Thank you very, very much for consistently supporting us each and every month. Just can't say anything more, man. Just thank you, and we appreciate your support, and wish that you continue to join us for this program. But that's about it. I think I forgot who asked the question about the music that we play and who does the music. My man Mike right here does a lot of the music. Some of the music, we have, just grabbed, off the internet. Not much of it, but some of it is that. But don't have to. It's free music. You don't have to. I guess address who made the music or anything like that. It's just generic music. One of our other friends made one of the songs, but like I said, this guy right here, he does a lot of the beats that we play on the show, man. LTMB music. Have to add some vocals or something. Man.
Oh man, I don't know about that. I don't know what you consider vocals. Maybe some bars. It'd be some bars, but your boy ain't singing nothing. Your boy ain't singing nothing.
We can, I'm not even gonna go. Well, some suggestions for the vocals. Nah, I'm not gonna go with that though.
No, absolutely not.
I ain't go there.
Absolutely not.
TJ used to rap a little bit, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Back in the day. Yeah. The dude from Chicago.
Oh yeah, Rage.
Ultimate Rage, man.
Yeah, Rage.
Still,
no doubt, man.
Love that dude, man.
Straight
You know
up.
he gonna come out with some fire.
Hell yeah.
I already know. Matter of fact, I need to holler at him to see because I know he's probably working on something.
Hell yeah, man. So he could do some. You know how First Take they be getting what's his name? I can't remember the rapper's name right now.
Oh yeah, because he sent us a link. You talking about dude who sent us a link to the video?
No. I'm talking about the show First Take on ESPN. You remember the rapper that does the music for them? I don't know if he's still doing it, but he did a couple of their intros. Wale.
Oh yeah, Wale.
Yeah, Wale.
Isn't he from like Philly or Baltimore?
Damn, I don't know. He be messing with them Southern cats a lot sometimes.
He messed with everybody because he signed with what's the Maybach, didn't he? He signed with Rick Ross.
Yeah. True. But yeah, man. We appreciate everybody joining us tonight. We'll be back on Thursday, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will have a new lineup of topics to discuss. So that hearing is next week. That hearing next week.
17th? Yeah, I think it's. I want to say 17th.
So that's next week. Yeah, that's next week.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Oh, and I'm not even gonna go into that, man.
We'll see what it do.
I'm not gonna go into it yet.
We'll see what that hearing produces. It may not produce anything.
It may not produce anything. It's just going to highlight what is already in the report.
True.
And you know what I'm saying? Even if, people want to discount any of the Russian stuff, I'm okay with that. But there are other things in there beyond that Russian stuff people may think has no value, which I'm fine with. Because essentially, it makes sense that Russia would try to engage in some sort of cyber warfare with other countries, including us. And actually, to me, it's just duh. Even if because we do it.
Makes all the sense.
It makes all the sense.
Like you said, we do it too.
We do it too. Israel does it. Japan does it. China does it. Pakistan does it. India.
So this
does
is
it,
not
Israel
like,
they hacked us. What are they doing? You're trying us. I'm like, yeah.
They're doing it for a while. Actually.
Yeah, they're doing it for a while. You know what I'm saying? Like cyber warfare. I mean, it actually makes sense. But if you're going to just completely discount that, there's still stuff in there that makes sense that points to some, some concerning activities.
Yeah. And like we said, if he had sat on his hands for 2 years, we might not have anything to talk about. So.
Like, because it's his people that got caught up.
Yeah.
It's his people that's in jail.
Not him. Sit on your hands, don't say anything.
And they're not in jail because of a nothing burger. They're in jail because there's, the actual criminal activity. And I do think that matters.
Yep. People from his own party going after these particular people, not Democrats. Anyway, I do have to bring out the. I don't know if L Train up in here. I don't know if L Train's up in here or not, but you know what I'm saying. Dude got to rep the Nets real quick.
Well, he been just calling out L Train. He ain't here. I don't think L Train here because we know if he was, he'd be up in the chat after being called out a few times.
Maybe L Train will come back and watch the program. But
he gonna have it sitting on the side just in case.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, little stage for it or something like that. The Nets, big signings this, last few days, this weekend. You know what I'm saying? KD, Kyrie. You know what I'm saying? DeAndre Jordan.
True that.
You know what I'm saying? Made some good signings. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good trio, man.
Yeah, it is. Also made some other good signings as well. Some role players. the future was already bright for Brooklyn. Had a lot of young players. They didn't have to give any young players up. So these mothers are still developing, and they have some good veteran talent as well. Some of the best veteran talent. Things are on the up and come. I was sad to see D'Angelo Russell go. A little sad to see him go.
Yeah,
man.
I was wondering how you felt about that, man.
Because he's the one that really brought us to prominence, brought us to the playoffs.
And he was a good bounce back story too.
Yeah, man, definitely a good bounce back story, man. So
that's probably what probably made it a little more disappointing.
Yeah,
because he came to Brooklyn after a kind of a disappointing period in LA.
Yeah,
the fallout.
I really would have been more excited had Kyrie not come and it just be KD and the other additions, even DeAndre Jordan, and D'Angelo Russell stay put. I think he's a young player. I think he is going to get better. Of course, he's less expensive than Kyrie is, of course, because of time of service in the NBA. So I think all of that, I was for that. But anyway, he's with Golden State now, so we'll see how he does over there. But yeah, I think things are looking up for the Brooklyn Nets, and things are not looking up for their New York City counterparts, the New York Knicks.
It's sad that pretty much the Nets are New York's team.
Yep. And in LA, it's not the Lakers, it's the Clippers.
My, how times have changed.
The little brothers have become the big brothers.
Yeah, pretty much, man.
So, that's the sports talk. Yes, we know KD is probably, he's probably going to sit out the season. Most likely, he'll probably sit out the whole season. But,
as he should. I think that's good. Yeah.
Brooklyn will still make the playoffs in the East, no doubt. And then the following season, I expect KD to come back just like KD. We've talked about how he doesn't rely on his supreme athleticism to to be the star he is. He can still get his mid-range shot. He can still get his three-point shot. The dude has a 7-3 wingspan. It's come on, man. You can't teach that. That doesn't go away. So I think it'll be fine. But anyway, yeah, man. When did Will get a cap? See if she's playing now. She wants me to wear a Chicago Cubs hat. She does. She's been talking about this, which I'm not gonna do. I'm wear that Brooklyn. Used to be a Knicks fan. Had to leave them alone. I guess
loyalty has its limits.
Yeah, well, you see, and I'm from Brooklyn. And then when they moved the franchise to Brooklyn, I was all over it. There was no reason to stay with the New York Knicks, man. It's just, sorry, man. That's just a painful history. That's just if you're a New York Knicks fan at this point, I feel for you. I definitely feel for you. It's not easy.
They haven't been competing since the days of Allen Houston and Latrell Sprewell.
Man, that's almost 20 years.
I remember that. They made it. They made it pretty far.
Well, damn, they made it to the finals.
They played San Antonio.
Yeah, they won one game. That was the shortened season.
Yeah.
They had one good year with Carmelo. I think they won over 50 games, I think. But I don't think if they got past the first round, they definitely didn't get past the second. Like I said, it's hard being a Knicks fan. But yeah, I was gonna go to Brooklyn anyway. That's my borough, so whatever. Taco Fall.
Yeah,
that dude is tall. I saw him
dunk and
stand up. He was just standing there.
He basically, his feet were on the ground.
I was like, my goodness, man.
The flexibility of the rim, because it went down, the rim flexes down.
That's crazy.
So he was still holding on the rim, and his tiptoes were still on. I was like, only problem, his movement.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you're that tall.
His movement is bad.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, no doubt. Probably worse than Bo Bowles. Which is not good. But anyway, we're gonna get out of here, man. That's just a little bit of sports talk, We can do a whole, another channel. You know what I'm saying? LTMB Sports if we wanted to, but we haven't done that yet. But anyway, everybody, appreciate the time. Appreciate you being with us. We'll come back in a few days. We will see you there, man. LTMB out.